welcome, people, and we're back, highly unoffended on a beautiful June day. Beautiful June day. We are in the house. We got some lovely guests here today. Um, we got my man Ramon rocking with us. We got White Boy Tim in the background, just chilling, popping shots like always. You know, we got a great guest today. Thank you for being with us once again on Highly Unoffended. Want to send out some positive waves to my man Mick Jagger. He got the co-19. Had to cancel out a show or two. Definitely can't lose that guy because he's Mick Jagger. Ramon, what's up, baby? How you doing? Talk to me.
Doing good. Last day of work today. I'm off for a few months.
School's out for summer.
And while we're on here, I want to take a quick second to say happy birthday, Jimmy.
Oh, shit, you called me out, son. I'm going to kill you.
Happy birthday.
It's in 2 days. Happy birthday, Jimmy.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. We got a little light now, you know, because I'm good looking in a dark light, but we're looking So today we got a friend of mine came in today. We always have a good chat, and unfortunately I'm like, I got to get you on, and I'm glad that thing called life gets in the way sometimes, but we got to do it. We got my man Doug White in the house. He's not an R&B singer. I know with a name like that, you'd be like, yo, what label are you on, son? It sounds like you're an R&B singer.
Pipes, though. I got some pipes.
That's
the guys who work with me. I turn the music up loud enough so you can't fucking hear it.
Exactly.
That's my gift to everybody.
I sound good in the shower.
Yeah, exactly.
Great acoustics. Doug, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing all right, man. It's been a long, nice, beautiful day down in New Haven.
Oh, yeah?
Dipped out of work to come and hang with you, though.
I appreciate
Happy to be here.
I appreciate it, man. Like I said, like I said, every time we doing training and stuff, we always get to yapping, and I just like, we gotta put a mic in front of you.
Yeah,
damn it!
I'm happy to be here. I'm honored to be here.
No,
Thank you
man,
for asking.
Good. Like I said, it's my man Ramon, and we got you met Tim, aka White Boy Tim. He's always here lurking about, sometimes talking, sometimes behind the lens.
Nice.
Well, yeah, Doug, where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Lanesboro, Massachusetts, which is up near Pittsfield, all the way Western Mass. Like geographically Massachusetts, but culturally it's like upstate New York. Like the closest big city is Albany.
Okay.
My TV channels are Albany, New York, growing up and stuff like that. So you're not gonna hear any Boston accents out that way.
Funny.
That's how where the Dragons be.
It's so funny because we were talking about Boston accents just yesterday. Because one time at Tim's house at a party, I don't know how we got to talking, and I'm chatting with Tim's younger sister. We were talking about accents, and I told her, I said, guys from Boston got it, difficult because they would never make it in porn. And she's like, well, why? I'm like, nobody's going to watch a movie when a guy's going, had, I'm so fucking had. Oh, yeah.
I'm my car.
I'm so fucking had right now. But nobody's going to watch that.
Yeah.
I go, so you know what I mean? So his sister always talks shit about me because she's like, that's insanity. But yeah, so all right, so you're up there in Mass, cool. Give me something about the early years, Doug, because I know you gotta go.
So early years, back to high school, like I was just that kid who didn't want to skip school, but I wanted to show up and fucking just wreak havoc. Honestly,
Yeah, my nightmare.
Yeah,
security.
School was fun for me though, So, but if my teachers weren't cool, then I targeted them and made it rough. I retired my biology teacher, and, just not to brag about my antics in school, but like for instance, I started biology in 10th grade, and she came over like I think a week in, and she was like, if you don't want to learn, you don't need this, and she took my book away. And I was like, well, all right, now it's on. I have nothing else to focus on. I'm fucking torturing me. So, and I did, like fucking laid waste to her plants, her fish, all that shit. But it got to a point in high school where our high school was 7th through 12th grade.
Yep.
And by the time I was in 9th grade, like I was headed for expulsion. I've been suspended a lot. And one of my teachers, Dr. Bill Palmy, I owe a lot to him because he gave me something that I got into. And what that was stained glass. So he started a program in 9th grade. You could only take a semester of it. And early years in town as a kid, there was an old glass, defunct, out of business glass factory. So you would be running around in the woods where I lived, and you could find like glass rocks. And when you're like 8 or 9, you find a green glass rock that's like an emerald.
Yep.
So fast forward to stained glass, I tried it, and I saw the glass, and I was just like, wow, I'm so fucking into it. And solder and iron solder, just like melting solder into a pool of metal. I was like, I love this. And they were like, well, holy shit, like he's found something he likes. So I stuck with that, and you're supposed to.
We can distract this fucker.
Yeah.
Flashbang.
Exactly. So I took a semester. You're supposed to take a semester, and then everyone else is supposed to get a chance. But they were like, let's let him keep doing this. So through high school, I think I read one book, and I'm not proud of that, But this was the type of school up in Williamstown, Mass, in Mount Greylock, where the kids from that area and the town that the school was had money. We drove up from Lanesboro 30 minutes every day. We didn't have money. So it was an interesting mix, but I got into the stained glass. They let me keep doing it. And I would, at that stained glass class scheduled, any study hall I had, I would go there. I talked to art teacher into letting me go to stained glass. I would skip classes and go to stained glass. And I just stuck with it all through high school. And it kept me out of trouble for the most part. I still fuck with teachers, but they routed me around the ones they knew I was going to clash with. They let me stay with the ones that were just going to kind of let me slide. So basically, I shouldn't really have graduated technically because I didn't read any books and I didn't.
Here's me and Ramon.
I used to just try to push the buttons and get thrown out but miraculously, I think it's the type of school where they'd rather just slide you through and have you graduate than say they expelled somebody.
Major sports pick up athletes. State of Connecticut picked up me and Ramon. We all found our niche.
Yeah.
And it's funny you talk about that stained glass because obviously I guarantee you there's a fistful of guys who still do it here in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's just like right
it's a dying
now.
art.
Well, it's just like shoemaker, cobbler.
Mm-hmm.
It is so hard to find a dude like, we had an old Italian guy here. He used to do all my custom holsters for me. And, he passed away. Now there's one guy left next to Newington Gun Shop. And every time I walk in there, he I wait till everybody leaves and he gives me the nod to come to the back. And he goes, hey, what are you doing? And, he does my stuff for me. He's customized holsters, backpacks, and, for our Ronies and stuff like that. And but I was talking with him the other day because he was doing something actually for my motorcycle, and he's like, "Who's gonna do this after you?" He goes, "I don't care. It's not me." I was like, "Damn," he don't care.
He's all done, damn it.
And
but I still do it. It's more of a hobby now. I had a glass studio for about 5 years.
No way.
In West Stockbridge, Mass.
It's like right now, you know what I mean? I got the Bridgeport and the Lathe, and I told you I'm starting to mess around with guys' rings. But I want to make them out of like gun barrels or really nice like wood, repurpose out of like I don't give a shit if they're like Chardonnay oak barrels.
See, I think that like especially for martial artists, people on the warrior path, like think about the samurai, like they were known to do flower arrangement. You got to have something to balance you out. If you go all martial, I think you end up in a cage usually.
Could be.
So things like that, and it also complements your art. It complements your martial arts.
So they got you out of high school.
Yeah.
All right. They got you out of high school. They're like, yo, get this guy out of here.
Yep.
Give him a cap and gown, beat feet, sucker.
Yep.
What happened after that?
So I joined the Marine Corps. I actually enlisted when I was 17. I knew that was what I wanted to do.
So what was the home life like though?
Home life. So my old man bounced when I was probably 3. My last memory of living with him was, and I first grew up in a project in Pittsfield called Dower Square, government cheese and powdered milk. And my mom had me when she was 16. We would hop on the bus and they would think that was my sister, and my dad was 17. So I think, they did get married. That was the thing back then. You got knocked up, you got married like next month. Yep. And so the last memory of me living with him is actually having those yellow footprints from Paris Island. He had them at the house and he would have me stand in them with my back to the television when I fucked up. You know what I mean? So that's really like home life as far as like a nuclear family, like that was it. And then he bounced because he was just a fucking maniac party animal, basically. But I still was always in touch with him. And it's funny because my grandparents, they lived across the street from each other. So and my mom would tell you the joke, like they say don't marry the boy next door. Well, don't marry the boy across the street. It's even worse. But no, my old man was into motorcycles, and this is back in the day when if you rode a Harley, you were probably type of a fucking criminal, and it was when bikes were still outlaw stuff, and like some of my fondest memories, like just being at one of my grandparents' house and I hear that bike come ripping up the hill. And I knew my old man was back, but he was fucking wild, bro. Like I'd be sitting in my grandmother's house and I remember him like just ripping up the hill, coming in, stomping down the hallway, going into the fucking closet, grabbing 2 guns, putting them in his coat, not saying a word, turn around and leaving, And but he was the type of dude, like, and it's interesting because I ended up in security and bail enforcement, but the legends of Bob White and all the wild shit he would do, like he would like walk up to a bar, there'd be a band going on, and there'd be a bouncer, and you got a $2 cover charge, he'd reach in his pocket and drop a handful of 357 rounds in the guy's fucking hand and be like, I think that ought to cover it, don't you? And just walk in.
Oh shit.
So like he was a wild influence on me. I can remember, but I gotta tell myself, remind myself that he was in his early 20s. He was a kid. But I would go to my great grandmother's house, like, and I can't remember what they were called, but like the not remote control, but the racetrack cars when they were still like this big. Mm-hmm. Like I can remember him dumping fucking like lighter fluid on him and lighting him on fire and going around the fucking track.
The little Tyco.
Yeah. You got it. He would always tell me, there's only one rule, no rules. Mm-hmm. And he meant it. Like, he was wild, dude. He had like, during that time, there were like the Volkswagen Beetles.
Yep.
Once the fad wore off, they were everywhere and you could buy them they were giving them away. Like he had 13 different ones, not at the same time, but he would buy them and just wreck them. Like I was probably single digit age and in his lap, driving them through cornfields. One time we crashed it. We're driving down by the stream and like in Seacombe Brook, it's called up where I'm from. I remember just crashing that thing into the water and sitting in the fucking passenger seat. The water starts coming in and let's go. And we just leave and left that fucking car there. Like just left it there, or we would like low crawl into the drive-in theater and he was just always doing wild shit, And I idolized that. I idolized it. I would sneak in his room, grab freaking like special forces. What's the magazine that?
Soldier of Fortune.
Soldier of Fortune,
That was the shit back in the day.
That shit early
that was
on,
the shit back in the day.
Like that's the influence right there. Like you flip to the survival knife page, and like that shit just gets locked in your head. You know what I mean? Like you're on that path from that point forward. So I was always, at an early age, like I've deliberately done with my son, who's
I remember the first
introduced weapons to him.
I remember the first time I seen the Red Cell book. You know what I mean? I'm like,
what's that?
What's his name? The Navy SEAL doing the first guy who was really doing like a lot of checks for security. Okay. What's his name? Jenko.
Yeah, Richard Marchenko.
Richard Marchenko.
Okay.
You got it.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember the first time seeing that book for sale in Soldier of Fortune. You're like, dude, that guy's got to be a badass. You having no idea of what a top tier guy is. Of that training and that just physicality and shit. And you're just like, yeah, really?
Yeah. But I remember my old man had a T-shirt said, it had the fucking skull and a dagger in the wings, and it said, "Kill them all, let God sort them out."
Yeah.
Just all that badass iconography like hits you when you're young and it stays with you, and then you realize like later that's actually a pope that said that. that quote came from. But yeah, my old man was wild, dude. He used to hang around a particular motorcycle club. I'm not going to name him. I don't need to. When you say that, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, roger that.
And I grew up meeting them cats. You know what I mean? There was a guy named Lefty who was my dad's sponsor. And he was called Lefty because when he was 9, he tried jumping a train and he got spun under it and got his arm cut off from here and from his knee down. And this guy still rode a bike. He had a claw, but his the shifter and the gas was on the same side. But that motherfucker had one arm, but that arm was like the size of your thigh. You know what I'm saying? Like I can remember him leaning his bike over and picking that fucking engine up out of it. So
probably an old panhead or shovel head.
Yeah. And now, he taught me how to throw a punch, how to twist it. knock somebody
He
out.
taught you how to throw a left punch. Though.
Yeah.
Not a right.
Only a left.
The other side.
In fact, I
he had
had
a
it
farm out the
backwards.
other
He
side.
might have lost his left, and that's why his nickname was left. I can't remember, but stuff like that. But they were wild looking. You would think that like the mistake that my old man made within that world was, well, we can get as fucking crazy and wild as we want. There's no rules here, although there are fucking rules, you know. And those guys were dealing some fucking.
They're called bylaws. Man.
Yeah, they were dealing some fucking serious cocaine, and I can remember, they checked him and they 86'd him from it. They were like, hey, no more coke, you know. And then when they put a rule down, they mean it, and he didn't abide by that. And my old man was just following him, going as wild as he fucking could. Like I could remember the feds were watching the house, and like I grew up around phones that literally on the phone was a sticker that said this telephone is being monitored by the federal government, like reminding you every time you picked it up. You know, and but I can remember I wasn't there for this, but he told me about this where the feds were watching the house, and they, his sponsor had a baby at the time, and they were fucking baby diapers. They took fucking a baby diaper full of shit and they put it in a bag, and my old man went out because they knew they were under surveillance. He walked outside like 3 a.m. on the stoop and looked around real careful, and then went and hid the fucking bag under the house like it was a bag of coke or something. And they came over and grabbed it, ran back to the car. It was a fucking shitty baby diaper.
They fell for the banana and the tailpipe trick.
Yeah, the advanced version of that. You know?
Good Lord.
So, but then once he got booted out, that was it. You know, like they didn't want to do my old man either, which is probably a good thing. You know.
So how's the Marine Corps treat you?
Yeah, you know. Dude, once you walk across that parade deck, like it changes you forever. You know, it's you join the Marine Corps. You can join the military for a lot of different reasons, but when you join the Marine Corps, you got to know that this is a fighting force. You know, and whatever your MOS is. Listen, all the pieces matter, and I'm not the type to like paint someone as a pogue and fucking down talk them, but if you join for infantry, you are fucking there to learn how to kill. Let's call it what it is. You know what I mean? And I knew that's what I wanted to do. So, yeah, like I said, I enlisted when I was 17 in the delayed entry program. Went down with my mom. Exactly. And what I loved was, you know, every other branch was like, "We'll give you this. We got this for you." And we got. And I never talked to another recruiter anyway, but that's the vibe. Like, in retrospect, you should go down there and get everything you want because you're going to give them every fucking thing. But I'll never forget that. Recruiter said to me, is like, what do you have to offer the United States Marine Corps?
But your typical 17 or 18-year-old ain't going to say, hey, can I get a whiteboard session on this?
Right. Right. But and this is a good segue into it. I want to tell you about a friend of mine. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him. But so I went down there, and in Pittsfield, the recruiter's office, they didn't have a full-time Marine recruiter, but they had every other branch. And my recruiter's like, go down there, take the ASVAB and let me see how you do, and then we'll talk about where you're going to go. So I headed down there, and I'll never forget. Like the Army recruiter comes out, and I scored pretty high in the ASVAB. Like I can't remember how they scored. I think it's like a 126 or some fucking good score, And I come out, and then the Army recruiter comes over to me, Sergeant Baker. Came up to me, I'll never forget it. He's like, now that I'm your recruiter, I said, whoa. I was like, I'm not joining the Army. I'm here to join the fucking Marine Corps. And I turned around and walked away from him. And that's like, I never forget that moment. But then you skip forward a few years after I'm out of the Marine Corps, and I was in the punk rock scene, a hardcore music scene. And I'm at this punk rock show, and there's a band called Red Brigade. And there's a dude singing, and now he's like, it's kind of weird in the sense that like when you're in your early 20s and you're into that music, like there aren't a lot of old dudes around, you know what I mean? And if there is, it's like, what's up with that guy, Like the singer of this band's got his shirt off. He's basically looks like Henry Rollins with black shorts on, and he's covered in ink, and he's going fucking off. And I'm like, I fucking know that guy. Because I never forget a face. I've got like, I'm not trying to brag. They call it a super memorizer, I think, where I can't forget a face.
Yep.
It's a curse. Like if you sold me fucking fries at Burger King 8 years ago, and I bump into you, like my head will fucking spin until it clicks.
You smell
And I'll be like,
fries.
I know you, and you don't remember me, and you'll be like, yeah, right. Especially with a chick, you'd be like, hey, you trying to fuck me? Like, no. I know you. I know I've met you. Give me a little while, and I'll remember it. And like, you used to sell fries at McDonald's. Like, yes, I did. You know. So I'm looking at this guy. I fucking know this guy, and it's so far out of context, though. It was Sergeant Baker.
Oh shit.
And
He's
it's
in a punk rock
yo,
band?
it took he's out and he's in a punk rock band as a singer. And I'm like, it took me a long time, and it finally clicked. I was like, you're Sergeant Baker, aren't you? And this guy's recruited so many fucking people. He's looking at me like, who are you, kid? You know? I was like, you said this to me, and I said no. You know what I mean? But I end up, he's a really good friend of mine. He's his name's Ed Baker. He's out on tour right now with Shinedown. He's their tour manager.
No way.
Yeah, and so we linked back up in music, but then I wanted to get into security. I'm jumping around a little bit, but you know, within martial arts, the system that I studied, Pylon White Dragon, our teachers were all bodyguards to the stars. It was kind of like a, you know, our lineage was all like Grandmaster Elvis's bodyguard. My teacher was Billy Joel, Aerosmith. His students.
we were with Billy Joel 2 weekends ago.
Oh yeah, no
Oh,
shit.
yeah, all three of us.
Well, if the next time you see Billy Joel, you ask him about Tom St. Charles. That was my teacher, my actual grandmaster in Kung Fu. But you know, he used to tell me like, listen, if you really want to test your shit out, you need to be a bouncer at a bar, and you'll get it tested out real quick. So I started bouncing.
Tough guys with alcohol. We know. We know those.
Yeah. So I was probably only like, I don't know, still a colored belt when I started, green belt or so when I started doing bouncing. And to tie back in, my buddy Ed Baker was wanting to get into tour management, but he also did security. He had an Army background. So we bounced at bars around Pittsfield, Mass, all different bars. And it'd be like one bar would have an entrenched DJ hip hop night. And yeah, not everywhere you go, but in these smaller towns, these smaller cities, these motherfuckers are trying even harder to be the thug. You know?
Too hard to be too hard.
Yeah. So when you've got an entrenched DJ, eventually you're gonna have some bounce. So, but I ran a tight ship, and a good buddy of mine that was a bouncer, he taught me. He's like, "Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, the secret to being a bouncer is not having to throw these assholes out in the first place." He said, "You make it slow for them to come in, and then if you make them wait in line, they're going to show they're being an asshole before, and you already just don't let them in. You don't have to throw them out, you know?" So I was like, that's a fucking gem right there. And so I would create a line, process people slow. We had a wand, and I'm licensed to carry, you know? My first bouncing gig, I can remember, I started working in there, and it was this place called Club 34 in Pittsfield. And it was pretty thugged out. That's what it was. It was a hip hop DJ. And I listen, I grew up listening to fucking rap. Like I was like 14 when fucking NWA came out. My first 4 cassettes were like Public Enemy, fucking Takes a Nation of Millions of His Back, Boogie Down Productions, NWA. Like I fucking love hip hop.
It's funny.
Still do.
We're laughing.
Revolutionary shit.
It's funny. I'm laughing because we both remember me and him together walking it downtown to buy it on a vinyl.
Warren's music
and,
shop.
and it's funny because we always laugh because his mother couldn't figure out why the needle on her stereo was always fucking shitting to bed because me and this monkey.
Yeah.
Scratching a little sharp record player.
But I was on my first bouncing gig, you know, and I was licensed to carry, and a lot of people knew it. I used to carry a Glock 26 on my ankle and a Cold Steel Vaquero folder in my pocket. You know, it was like the first little weapon systems I had, like religiously carrying. I'm in my early 20s. And I'll never forget, I was standing in that bar. That place is fucking like a lot of motherfuckers in there that don't give a fuck. And they keyed in on me. There's a kid from Pittsfield. I haven't seen him in forever. I forget his real name. They call him Mango. He's had his eye stabbed out front of another bar. And he came over and stood next to me, you know. And right off the bat, he comes stands next to me. Here we go. And he goes, "Y'all need some big motherfuckers in here." And there was this big, huge, like, dude walking by, a white boy, but a baby Huey. You could just tell. He was like, oh.
BFN, like, big for nothing.
And you know, and again, yeah, exactly. And I'm probably like yellow belt in Kung Fu at the time, you know, but real serious about training. You know, I took 10 classes a week, and that's like, I lived it. And fucking, So, and I said to him, I was like, man, size has got nothing to do with it. It's all about technique. And he goes, I'll never forget. He goes, yeah, well, I know Puerto Rican judo. And he goes, you don't know if I got a gun. You don't know if I got a knife. You don't know what I got. This is a black kid, but he pulled out the accent, you know? And I turned right fucking to him. And I was like, well, I'm going to tell you something right now. I got a gun and I got a knife. But you don't know what I know. And he was like, and then he went back and reported in, you know, because these motherfuckers want to know who the fuck I am. And they're going to try to test me like I'm not to be fucking tested. And so time went by. There was a cat named, they called him PR. I won't say his real name.
That means public relations.
He's public relations official. He's the violence liaison. Anyway, black and Puerto Rican mixed dude. I'm standing there one night watching, and the waitress comes walking through with a bunch of Heinekens on her fucking head, named Jeff French, this white boy. He cut him bad, right? And he starts leaking, and this dude just bolted.
And leaking.
And dudes would just try to do their thing and get out quick. Not so much to get away, but so we wouldn't know who they were to put them on the list so they could come back and fucking do it again next week.
Yep.
So I'm chasing this guy, but I'm not trying to apprehend him or nothing. I'm just a bouncer, but I want to know who he is so I can put him on the list and don't let him back in. Fucking run down the stairs. Everybody's chasing him. The dude that's bleeding is like, his buddy's like trying to put a towel on his head. He's going after him. Coming around, like, you know, the cars are like lined up like this all the way down. And I see this shadowy figure dip around here. And fucking, I start running up here, but I'm just trying to look through the cars to see who he is. And I get up and I go between the cars. He reaches into a white Pathfinder, digs in the console and comes. So I'm right here and I duck down and I'm watching him. He comes back out with a gun and runs by me, doesn't see me. I draw the Glock and I'm like this. He runs right past me. You ever see like, must have seen that shit in a movie like Trained by Hollywood, where dudes run with the shit straight down, and he came running back down, and he was running toward everybody that was chasing him. I swear to God, this dude was about to fucking clap at everybody, and people. I told the story. Someone said it was his girl. I thought it was his sister, but this dude can't make this shit up, bro. Like I hear this voice yell, "Yo, PR, don't do it!" And it was like it rang in his head, like that girl's voice, like dong, and he stops. And he turns around, he starts running back. But now I'm sitting there halfway up with my fucking Glock like this. And he looks at me and he goes, instantly puts it in his pocket. He's like, don't do it, man. Don't do it. I know you. I never said a word to him. I just fucking looked at him. And he put this shit away. I'm not trying to shoot nobody. Fucking if I got to. I certainly wasn't trying to snatch him. I wanted to see who he was. So he ran by me, jumped in that Pathfinder and tore away. And I looked around and I put my shit away. And I'm like, fuck. You know, what if someone saw that? The cops are coming already. And I don't want to be in a scenario where they're like, hey, he had a gun and then I didn't tell nobody and then I get fucking slammed. So I go back inside and I go to talk to my boss. His name is Al. I forget his last name. He's a fucking asshole, so he's forgettable. And what I mean by that is here's a guy running a fucking a black hip hop club all night long, R&B and hip hop, like you should. And at the end of the night, the last song, he would always put on Offspring, Pretty Fly for a White Guy. So he could ruin their fucking night. And I'm just thinking like,
no, that's to get him out.
You're like the racist, most racist
that's not
motherfucker.
Racist, that's to get him out.
You just get him out, but it is racist. Like he was. He
no,
was though.
I worked at an
this is your bread and butter. How can you be here, hate these people, hate this culture?
I worked at an R&B club.
Yeah.
And you know what the DJ did every night to get him out? The last song? He would put on some real lovey-dovey shit. He would put on like Open Arms by Journey, or he would put on freestyle. He goes, man, black people hate freestyle. He goes, you want to get brothers to lead a club? He goes, put on some Stevie B. And he goes, put on some Journey. They're out of here.
Yeah, nobody's getting fucking laid to that shit.
You know what I mean?
So anyway, I said to him, I got to talk to you. And we went in the kitchen. I told him this is what just happened. He's like, you got a gun on you? I'm like, yes. He's like, you can't have a gun on you. I said, yes, I can. He's like, oh, no. He's like, you're fired. I said, fine, fuck you. And I left. And I went downstairs. All the cops were downstairs. And, this is probably 1990 fucking 6, 5. I don't know.
Okay.
There was an old Lieutenant Riley, Pittsfield Police Department. He's standing there with all the cops, And I'm, again, I've decided I need to let it be known. I've got nothing to hide. I'm licensed to carry. I can do this, but I'm not going to have them find out after the fact. I said, Lieutenant, can I talk to you for a second? He's like, yeah, what's going on? I told him what happened. He's like, you got a gun on you? You can't have a gun on you. I said, with all due respect,
you have a gun.
I said, with all due respect, yes, I can. I already have my permit in my hand. In Massachusetts, it's a license to carry, large capacity, and then the key word on the back of that permit is reason for issuance, all lawful purposes. If you put target or hunting, then you can only carry it for that, you know. But a lot of people don't know that a police officer in Massachusetts is licensed to carry in the same way that I don't know how it is in Connecticut, obviously for cops, but it's the same permit. And he's like, you don't have the right permit to be carrying that. I said, with all due respect, yes, I do. He's like, oh, you're going to have to come over to the station and I'm going to show you what the right permit is. I said, all right, I'll meet you over there. It's literally like right around the corner. You know, I'm not the type to be wanting to go fucking like give statements and shit, but you know, I'm not the type to call 911 on any of that, but I'm not going to go to fucking jail on some dumb shit either. So I go over there and he's standing around all the cops. He's like, no, oh, he's like, you. He's like, come over here. He's like, I want to show you. He's like, let me see your permit. And I hand it to him. And I know I'm right. And he's just, without all due respect to the guy, he's such an old timer that he probably hasn't seen a permit in 15 years. He turns to the sergeant. He says, let me see your permit. And they're like embarrassed for him, pre-embarrassed for him, because he's already put his foot in his fucking mouth. And the sergeant pulled his out. And he's like, no, you see, oh, all right. Well, you really shouldn't be doing that. And he's like, you need to go upstairs and give us a statement, you know. And honestly, like in that moment, like I probably should have been like, no thanks. But, you know, it's like fucking pull the gun out on someone, put it away, and not going to jail. Like, let me go give a statement. I gave a statement. I didn't realize what I was getting into. I told the fucking story just like I told you guys. I get summoned to go to court for this guy. And I fucking have to go, and they wanted me to be a witness. I never had to fucking testify or anything, but I show up to the courthouse in suit, and I'm sitting there in the fucking pew, and they bring him out. PR, the great fucking PR. And now he's in an orange jumpsuit and shackles. And he comes out, he's fucking mad dogging me. And he sits down and he's rocking back and forth. I don't give a fuck. Judge wasn't out there. So I was like, the other night, you were begging me not to shoot you. Like, fuck you, you know? I never had to end up testifying. But and my buddy, the same one who taught me some secrets about bouncing, his name's Steve Vila. He tours as a barber. He tours with Eminem and Dave Matthews and X Games. He took his barber game on the road, and fucking it's big. He was like, yeah. He's like, because I told him that story. He's like, oh yeah, dude. He's like, you know what he meant by I know you? I'm like, what? He's like, well, those dudes were trying to figure out who you were. And he came in for a haircut and was asking about you. And I told him, he's like, listen, whatever you got on you, he's like, he's got one too. He's probably just going to take yours away and fucking hit you with it. So that's what he meant by I know you.
So how long did the bar scene last till you stepped up your game and you were out?
So I did 9 years of bouncing in Pittsfield, Mass. Wow. And so what would happen was I kept the weapons out, but you can't avoid it. That's going to happen in the parking lot. And there would be some violence. Someone would get shot at, and they would shut that bar down. Grand opening, grand closing. But they would open it back up somewhere else, and I had my list. And I took my list from each bar to the next. People fucking hated it. They would walk up like, yeah, I'm going to fuck this place up now. Now I'm standing there. I'm sorry, you're not welcome here. What do you mean I'm not welcome here? Well, you're on the list. So I never fucked anything up here yet. Yeah. And you're not gonna. Operative word. So like I got to a point I had like 100 people on my list, you know, and motherfuckers did not like me, and I get it. And they would come up and like, whatever, like, I'm keeping the trouble out before it starts. The rule is be nice or be gone. Like that's when in doubt, leave them out. Yeah, so you're walking up and like dudes get back then the airbrushing was the thing, you know, and fucking guys got dangerous. Airbrushed on his shirt. I'm sorry.
Maybe he liked the Michael Jackson album.
Yeah, but I'm like, you know, sorry, but you're not welcome here. Why not? Well, because you're dangerous. You know, and then the people would be like, yo, I'm gonna shoot this motherfucker. Listen to me right now. Go home, get it out the shoebox. Make sure you put the right fucking ammo in. Come back. And let's fucking do it. But at the end of the day, like, you know, word got out. I was willing to fucking throw down. I'm licensed. Like, it's legit. Like, so, you know.
So when did we get out of the bar scene?
So back to my buddy Ed Baker. I got to a point up there. I had a dojo in town, and I was bouncing. And sometimes more than one club at a time, just having my guys, and you can only make so much fucking money doing that. And I got to tell you, like teaching martial arts is no way to make money unless you've got, you've got it dialed in.
Unless
in a small town like that, though, Pittsfield, Mass, when GE moved out, the population dipped down below 50,000. It's technically not a city anymore. You just don't have the numbers. Like if you move to New York City and open a dojo, you're going to have 40 fucking students by nature of the population. But up there, it's a struggle.
And Lord forbid if you get a martial arts movie. Our grandmaster told us that. He said that he was making okay money, but when Karate Kid came out, he had to start teaching extra classes and turning kids away. He said the money was just like a fountain. Yeah. He goes, every kid wanted to be part of a dojo, and he goes, dude, when Karate Kid came out, he goes, we just made bank.
Yeah. So, I just had to do something else, man. And like growing up, like fan of Star Wars, I always loved Boba Fett. Like that was my favorite fucking character, the bounty hunter in Star Wars. Like my favorite part is when
you been keeping up with the new one.
It's somewhat. I had once they put. Well, I didn't watch Obi-Wan yet. I watched the first season of Mandalorian. I started the second one when
this is the part where I leave because I don't speak Star Wars.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole with you, but that was an influence, And I'm not gonna lie to you, like I was sitting there watching fucking Dog, the fucking bounty hunter. And I'm not that kind of bounty hunter. And I'm not knocking Dwayne Chapman as a person. He's a fucking good dude. But I'm not like going to sit you down and give you a cigarette and fucking talk about your life. Fucking like I have a good talk with people who are good and cool, but I'm looking at this show and I'm like, man, that looks like fucking fun. Sneaking up on fucking people.
I watched your video with the vet the other day, man. I really like the way you handled him, and he had a lot of issues going on. The alcoholic dude.
Yeah. He
had a lot of issues, and the way you handled him the other day, I got to give you a lot of props because, you were telling him, dude, get tanked up before we go because, you're going to be in cold turkey around the corner at the county.
Yeah.
And, you really did try dealing with old boy. And I like the way you gave him a lot of respect. So what got you on the road?
So
before we went into the BEA world.
Sure. So I was already in. So that's an interesting question because I was doing security locally, and then I left Pittsfield to move to Connecticut to get my bail enforcement license. Saved up a bunch of money, came on down here, got licensed, and I was doing that for a good. I fucking loved it. I love it to this day. It's been 16 years, but I was head over heels for doing bounty hunting, and I worked for one of the bigger companies. Right off the rip, I worked for one of the bigger companies right across from the jail, and they had a ton of work, and I got a ton of experience, and then they let me run the crew, and I told them, I said, listen, because I had a lot of martial arts background, and rifle training from the Marine Corps, but no pistol training, and I just said, listen, like I saw an opportunity, to get some really good training, but I honestly said to them, I said, you're asking for it. You got motherfuckers running around out in the street with guns. No one's got any form of pistol training. I was like, I'll manage the team if you send me to Smith & Wesson Academy for the law enforcement firearms instructor course. They're like, I said, listen, get us a membership to Hartford Gun Range, buy the ammo, and I'll make sure every one of these guys trains where you don't have to put them on the clock while they're training. But that's how I ask my guys, like, listen, like, I'll give you all the training you need. Just take it serious and see it for what it is. Like I paid tens of thousands of dollars over the years for my own shit. And paid my teacher used to charge $100 an hour for privates, gold coins, everything. Like I'm not gonna give it to you. You're gonna earn it. But if you don't take it serious and you don't see it for what it is, then you're just fucking not part of us. So that's how that started. They sent me to Smith & Wesson Academy. They weren't gonna let me in because I'm not a cop, But at the end of the day, like they want $1,000 to take the course.
So they closed it down though.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
so I took that course, and the deal was they would send me to one big training course a year, and then like weekend shit every once in a while. Fucking SIG Academy. So it was great. They sent me to take
SIG's the shit. I think I'm gonna grab one of their classes before the end of the year.
You should.
I know a couple of guys up there teaching, and
it's a beautiful facility.
Oh, well, you got SIG money, You ain't, So you ain't my place here,
So I was just neck deep in bail enforcement, loving it, training, and my buddy Ed Baker, who I mentioned, he was starting out in touring, and he had started climbing the ladder of touring, And I always wanted to do bodyguard work, but I was loving bail enforcement. He would call me up occasionally, like, hey, you know, as he moved up in touring, he's like, Joe Cocker, you know.
What'd you do?
I'm honored, but I'm fucking having fun booting doors. Thank you, but no thank you. And he called me back up months later. Yeah. Avril Lavigne. Thank you. Sounds awesome. I can't walk away from this shit though. You know what I mean? Making good money and I'm loving what I'm doing. So I had decided, and I told the guys I work for at this company that I was going to stick around until I caught 500 people, and then I wanted to move to a more pro bail state. And you know, honestly, I really wanted to try to replicate my success somewhere else to know it was true success. You know,
Not a one-hit wonder.
Yeah. So I decided to move to Florida, and I did. My ex-wife and I at the time, she was in bail on the admin side. We moved down and I started working down there. Bail enforcement and bail in Florida is way different. You know, there's no bounty hunting technically.
No.
You have to have the bail bond license, and they've got this shit on lock. It's how it should be. Like you have to do a year apprenticeship, and you make minimum wage. You can only work 30 hours a week. They set it up that way so just people wouldn't swarm the business. So there's still money to be made down there. There's only so many bondsmen. If you're in, they let you in. It's not like you get licensed and you're fucking out there in the corner.
No, I do work with a retired cop out of Miami, and you know, I don't know if I ever set you up with him, but a good guy. And you know, he says that, you know, it isn't like up here that, you know, 25 hours later you're in the game.
So I walked away from like this job up here. Like I was working like 40 cases at a time, had my own crew, and it was just like awesome. But I moved down there. And I get down there and I'm starting over. And my ex-wife worked at one of the sureties. And I had to wait to take the course to get the license to even start doing bail enforcement again. And they were dragging their feet because they got us down there. They lured us down there, and then they got my wife working, and they're just like, oh, well, we'll do. They taught the course. They're the one to teach it. Like, oh, we're going to do it next month. But I've looked from like fucking action in my face all the time to sitting there like crickets, like watching fucking first 48 marathons, like. But that fucks with you, man. Like you take yourself out of that action, and like, you know, it's like started dragging me down. And then she comes home one day. She's like, listen, she's like tiptoeing. She's like, I got something to offer you from them, but I don't know what you're gonna think of it. And I'm like, all right, well, what is it? You know? She's like, they want you to be an auditor for the bail bond industry, and that's going to count as your hours towards your bail license. And I'll tell you right now, buddy, it was like I get in front of a computer, numbers make my eyes glaze over. Like I start typing in a spreadsheet, I'm cramping up. Like a cubicle's like a fucking jail cell to me. But you know, outside your comfort zone is where the magic happens. And I had this moment where I was like, okay, here's something you're afraid to do, not because it's scary, dangerous, but you're afraid of it because it's not your shit.
Lumber's going to need you to work on Saturday.
Yeah. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll do it. Only because I didn't want to, you know, and I signed up, and I'll tell you, it was the best move I ever made because it was a charity gig, first of all. I used to fly around the country and audit bail bondsmen. And bail bonds is a very fucking cutthroat business. It's very closed, and you don't ever want someone to see your books or your methods, but it's like, here's the auditor, open up the engine, we want to see. And so I audited all of Florida. You know, they paid me mileage. I bought a cheap Honda Civic at first. It was good on gas. I made money on miles. Drove up and down from the Panhandle down to Key West, all of Florida. But I met all these bondsmen, and I learned a little bit of something from every one of them. And I also was smart enough to, I don't want a company phone because all these little contacts are going in my fucking phone. You shit can me, and fucking these are still my people. So I audited Florida, Arizona, California. Northern California is interesting. Southern California is interesting. Minnesota. Just, I got insight into this business like you could, and I got paid to do it, you know. But I'm down there doing that. I'm also got my temporary bail license, which lets me do bail enforcement, but I'm only doing that few and far between because these bondsmen down there, they got a structure set up with remission where if they get picked up within the next 2 years, they get some of their money back. So they'll pay the skip, and then if they get picked up, they get money back. So it kind of makes sense down in Florida to not have a bounty hunter. If you just play the game, someone's going to get picked up within the next 2 years, right? He's got a fucking warrant, you know? So I'm down there, and phone rings again. It's my buddy at Baker. This is your question, how to get touring. He's like, hey, We're coming down, and at the time he was touring with Matchbox 20 with Rob Thomas. We're coming down to Florida to do a secret surprise show. And I'm like, what is that? And it was a Wells Fargo bank had like their top earners in real estate, and they had a secret surprise show. Is like these are the fucking, it's a black tie event. These fucking people buku dollars, and they know that a famous artist is going to perform, but they don't know who it is. You really don't know till he hits the stage. He's like, listen, I know you don't want to leave bail, but we're in town. Please come and work for the night just to see what I'm doing. And I was like, hell, I'm not going to say no, And I'm like, sure, let's do it. So I worked for Rob Thomas for actually I got to tell you, like, that's the one of the like coolest, like most legit, real motherfuckers. Like gets in front of the mirror every night and is looking in that mirror, thinking like, I'm here for my fans. Awesome dude. It was an awesome night, and it went really well. I knew it would, and I should have known better because fucking Eddie fucking Knuckles, he took me and my ex-wife out to dinner, and he's like, listen. And at the time, he was also picked up the contract for Linkin Park. And he's like, I want you to come out on tour with Linkin Park as security for the drummer. And I'm like, no, I can't.
Now, what album was this tour? Was this?
So the first tour that I went on with them was Living Things.
Okay, because what was it, the first album, right? That one was fire.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when that came out, man. That album was just everything.
Well, the funny thing is, when that album came out, I was in the hardcore music scene. And I ended up telling Rob that we got pretty tight.
Yeah, I remember when that first Linkin Park.
But I didn't like Linkin Park when they came out. We were in the hardcore music scene, and they were dressed in the baggy pants and the bag. And I told him, like, buddy, like, the funniest thing is, like, if we ran into you then on tour, who we were as a hardcore music crew, like, we would have dragged you off stage and beat your ass for dressing like us. So it's just funny. Time passes and you become, you grow up. That's what it is. But that's the truth, And we laughed about that. But anyway, he offered me that gig, and I can't. I was like, why not? I'm like, well, I'm working for the charity and they need me, And I was like, she's not going to want me to go on tour. She's like, no, go. I'm like, fucking like. And then I go talk to my boss, the executive at this fucking charity. And he's like, oh, that's a fucking great opportunity. He's like, you should go do it. You can still work for us. But everybody was like, I couldn't say no, dude. And I said yes, and I'm glad I did. It was a great gig. I saw 33 countries in 5 years. Nice. It changed my life. The second you go to another country, you can travel all around this country all you want. I put my feet down in Portugal, and I went and just was like, wow. Went and tried to order some food, language barrier. I ordered a cheeseburger, and it just showed up with an egg on it. I'm like, like you got to reset. But it was like Portugal, Germany. And we would hub in cities. So when you got enough money on tour, a band has enough money on tour, it makes sense not to pick the show up and move it to each. You hub in Berlin for a month, and Berlin's your city. And you come to love these places. Nice. Copenhagen, I love Copenhagen. You could just, the shit I saw, man. Because I would just, I come.
What was the grittiest city you ever been to?
Johannesburg, South Africa.
South Africa.
Everywhere I go, home of apartheid. Yes, sir. I'll tell you what, I've never witnessed a bigger disparity between wealth and poverty than in Johannesburg.
I seen a documentary, and definitely it's have and have nots.
It's like you live in a compound or you live in a fucking shanty, and there is really no in between from what I saw. But my thing was, everywhere we went, we had drivers. In any country I was in, these drivers are very professional, and they're trying to call me sir. I'm like, listen, man, he's not around. Got the shit. Like, I'm like you. Like, we're just regular guys. Show me your favorite restaurant. Where do you area? Like, yep. So, and I also would want to see the poverty and see the real shit and see the squalor. That's where I'm comfortable. So I would just have the drivers take me to these places, And in Johannesburg, like, the band never left the compound. You drive around Johannesburg and you think you're in a zombie movie, because everybody who has money has a 20-foot tall wall with barbed wire or fucking jagged glass or spikes. It's like built to keep a zombie's apocalypse out, And we're down in the basement of the compound, and our driver is like, what do you want to do? Because we're not going anywhere all day. And I got to say, like, the guy I worked for in Linkin Park, the drummer, Rob Warden, awesome fucking guy, real guy, you know, and just a very benevolent guy. Like, you know, like we get to Japan, for instance, he's like, listen, he's like, this is my 12th trip to Japan. I know you train martial arts. I don't need you tonight. I'm not leaving the hotel. Please explore.
Nice.
Thank you. Because a lot of times, you know, you're in these cities and you're not doing shit if you've got a guy who wants to fucking. But you're doing what they're doing and you're working. That's it. So, like, yeah, my dude, like, was kind enough to let me know I'm not going anywhere today. Please enjoy this city. It was such a gift. So back to Johannesburg, down in the basement. You know, we had, you know, when we went to Brazil, Johannesburg, high threat levels. We had supplementary security, armed security, oftentimes off-duty police officers, local cats who knew the fucking area. And you know, it's funny because I went to South Africa and I had this fantasy that, like, I wanted to, not while we were there, but I would link up with somebody where I could get into the anti-poaching thing, hunt down poachers someday, you know? Guys want to fucking kill rhinoceroses? Well, let's kill you instead. And that's in my head, you know? I sat down with this guy, the head of security down there.
I remember I used to follow a female, really good looking female.
Yeah, I forget her name.
Yes, she's out there, you know, she's doing her thing out there, and they're over there putting lead on those guys.
Yeah. So I talked to this dude. He was like, I can get you that job. He's like, but do you want to live in the bush? He's like, let me tell you about living in the bush. I'm like, well, actually. He's like, you know, talking about, like, you know, fucking black mambas in your sleeping bag and how, like, when you're at a campfire at night, like, at the end of the light is the hyenas. Like,
it's like naked and
come
afraid
out
and
here.
you're not naked.
Yeah.
Just
and if you go take a piss by yourself, like, you're done. If you go with somebody else, you're okay, you know. You know, a man's got to know his limitations, like Dirty Harry said in fucking Magnum Force. Like, you've got to realize. And I was like, you know, I'm not.
I don't know how to read. I don't know how to read a fucking compass.
Yeah,
I don't know how to read a fucking compass.
So I was like, yeah, maybe not.
You know, shout out to my man Jerry from Corvus Survival out of Yosemite. I keep telling him that I want to go out there with a week and learn. My buddy lives in Yosemite. And he made me a beautiful butcher knife that I use every time when we have the parties.
We better talk about knives at some point.
And of course, but you know, the first time I met him was in New York for a class with at Calderon, and he was just like, "I'm not cool with this." He goes, "You're so comfy walking around," and we're in Manhattan by Orchard, and I was like, "Yeah, my favorite mezcal bar is around the corner," and we ended up later getting banged up, but. And it was just funny. He goes, you don't know nothing about the woods? I go, yeah, I know how to stay out of them. And it's just like, you know, and when people get attacked hiking, oh my God, you know, you see the article, they got attacked by a mountain lion.
Yeah.
Well, bitch, you ain't getting attacked by an ATM lion.
Right.
You ain't getting attacked at Walmart's parking lot. Stay the fuck out of their hood.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know what I mean? I call it, you know, WPS white people shit. And I'm just like, yo, you know, you get attacked hiking, bitch, you brought this shit upon yourself.
You're in the Pumas world.
And you know what I mean?
You notice one thing, though? The people getting attacked, you ain't never seen nobody with no color getting attacked.
Right.
It's
always a white person shit.
It's funny because years ago, me and him, we were mountain biking. And every time we were mountain biking, we had our fanny pass with little 380s in there. We weren't going in there. You know, cats are like, why are you taking a gun mountain biking? I'm like, why are you not?
Pumas, bitch. Pumas.
I'm not going to be statistic. Fuck that.
You know what I mean? It's crazy because then a couple of years ago, you know, I'm here on one of the mountains, some dude taking a selfie was backing up to take a selfie and he fell off the mountain. I'm like, that's commitment. If you ain't willing to die for that selfie, step the fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
That's commitment right there.
Step the fuck off already.
my man died taking a selfie. I'm like, dog. You know, I'm like, you know, and I just, you know, people, you know, I always tell people I'm way more scared of white dudes than anybody else. Because y'all do some crazy shit,
definitely.
man.
I hear you.
Y'all do crazy shit. You put me in any ghetto in this anywhere, I'll find my way through, man. But like I said, it's just.
I find it hard for Jimmy to want to learn about survival. This dude don't even want to go camping.
Yeah.
He said, I don't want to go play broke. I grew up broke.
People go, oh my God, we're going to go camping. I go, hold on. Before you go camping, you're going to go to Cabela's. You're going to fucking charge a bunch of shit on your credit card. And then you're going to go away and act broke.
Yeah.
I go, as growing up as children.
Living like a homeless person in a homeless camp in the woods.
Let's look at, you know, early childhood development. You know, we play cops and robbers, right?
Yeah.
You play Cowboys and Indians, and I know you can't use the Indian word anymore, but I'm gonna use it
You
anyways.
use it with me.
Nobody played the homeless game. Hey, let's play the bum game.
Yeah.
Let's play. Fuck no.
Yeah.
People are like, oh my god, let's go camping. Like,
Yeah.
no. I'm like, I just don't do it. And the guy who left, Uncle Tom, he was saying that he's down with camping. I'm like,
I like it. I
I'm
like
not
it.
gonna pay to be cold.
I'm not
We
trying to
fucking
test
around.
myself in the woods.
That's like here in New England,
But he
right?
wasn't
I don't
going
mind
to
going
70.
to like a campground, you know what I mean, with my family and stuff. It's a
But
good
I would go in
time,
the summer. I don't mind sweating, but like it's like here, and I don't understand people here in the winter.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my god, I'm going to Vermont this weekend.
Yeah.
Bitch, it ain't cold enough here for you.
Yeah.
There ain't enough snow for you.
Exactly, yeah.
My God, we're going snowshoeing.
Yeah.
I go, yo, if you were supposed to have snowshoeing, God would give them to you.
Yeah.
Your feet would be that big. You're not supposed to be walking around in that shit.
When I feel like when winter comes, it just kind of fucking shuts me down a little bit. It just I'm definitely the sun goes out.
It
and
never
I'm just
used to
not as
bother me,
active.
and I hate to say now, me and Tim, we went out to the beach yesterday for lunch, and I was just telling him, I said, my ultimate is I don't want to spend another cold day, but I'll be back for St. Patty's so we can party. I'm done with it. I'm done with it, and it's getting harder and harder to contend with it. But like, if I never spent another cold day, I tell people,
My plan.
Hold on.
Southward bound.
My kid's got 1 year left in high school, and I'm done.
I tell everybody, unless you spend Christmas with some shorts on, right? Until you've rocked shorts in a Christmas, get out of my face. Get out of my face.
I've done it. I lived in Orlando for a bit.
One of my friends, this guy, 2012, he moved down to Alabama. Who moves to Alabama? I guess some people do, and that's what he said. He goes, I hate it down here, except for come winter time. He goes, I get to wear shorts.
Yeah.
That's what he
That's
said.
what's nice about Arizona too. I lived out there for a couple of years, and you suffering in the summertime. The way I see it though, summer out there is just winter. Like it's a season of the year, like here, where it's so fucking cold you don't want to be out there. Well, it's just so hot you don't want to be out there. It doesn't really matter. We're in the fucking house and comfortable.
See, to me, it's never too hot. And number two, the heat has a remedy. Cold doesn't.
Yeah.
Like if you got to work on your car,
bitch,
wait till the sun goes down, hop on it.
Right. Makes sense.
Like I'm sorry to say this, but the cold, to me, the cold is debilitating.
Yeah.
And that's why I just got no love for it.
It's fucking depressing.
Exactly.
No, it is.
And that's why, like, and girls like, oh my God, girls are like, you want to go skiing? Like Ramon said, I have a big rule. I'll never spend money to be cold.
Yeah.
It'd be like
That's a good rule.
smoking rocks or something.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what? Why would I spend money to be cold? That would be asinine in my world. That's like punishment.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I finally got my passport, so I'm ready to go.
My man, my man.
I just got it.
Nice.
Me and Tim are
Go everywhere.
we're thinking about the Galapagos in February.
Okay.
You know?
I'm doing Ireland, August 23rd, 2023 next year.
Nice.
It's gonna be my nephew goes to Annapolis. He's at the Naval Academy.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing Notre Dame in Ireland.
No shit.
So we're going to the game.
We might have to. Yo,
Me and my sister, we're going to that for my 50th.
we might have to go to that.
That's not that bad over the
Hey,
year.
we might have to do an edit. We might have to do a highly unoffended out of a pub in Ireland.
Hey, let me know. I'll tell you.
It's like you grow up here and you think of Europe as so far away, but then you go and look at it like on a map, like it's just fucking.
It's across the
it is across the pond.
Yeah.
It's not that far.
Listen,
And
I
if
flew
you
to
can get
fucking
cheap,
Hawaii.
you can get cheap
So-
flights to Europe. You
I
can
flew
look for
to fucking
deals.
Hawaii. That shit was a long ass flight. So I've already been on the air for a while. I think I can handle it.
I just want to be done with this mass shit. I'm just over this shit like my high school sweetheart.
Let's get back to
Yeah. All right. So there we go.
Well,
So
finish my Joe Bird story for you real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. We were downstairs and the security guy says to me, what do you want to do? He said, I'm like, well, let me see some stuff. He's like, what do you want to see? You want to see the squalor? I'm like, yeah. So we hop in an up armored, it was like a Hyundai Santa Fe, I want to say. It was a small SUV, but fucking up armored. And he's got an AK, and we're rolling, and we went to Alexandria Township, which is where the AIDS cemetery is. And we roll in, Rami, I'll send you some pictures. We roll into this township, and if you look back, when I send you the picture, you look at all these buildings that we were at, but if you look in the back is the shanty town, and up above it is the AIDS cemetery. And this shit is fucking heavy to see. But you pull in, and you're driving around, and again, this is the poorest place I've ever imagined seeing. You know, like you go, it's like businesses are in shipping containers. We stop at a quarter of a shipping container. It's a barber shop.
Oh shit!
And if you look at this picture, I'll send it to you. It looks like I'm getting my hair cut there. No. This is a staged photo. He told me we're out of this car for more than 30 seconds. Like there's going to be problems. Like once they know there's white people here, like they're going to make it fucking happen.
White people.
So we get. He walks up to the barber with an AK and he's like, "Hey, quick picture, right?" You know, and he knows the routine because this guy's done it before. And I sit in the chair. He throws the schmuck over me and holds the fucking clippers up to my head. Snap a picture. He's like, "All right, let's go." We get back in. We're rolling. Fucking like, there's a KFC there in a shipping container. I'll send you the picture, bro. Ramon, I'll tell you the picture. The shipping container is red. The sign is as big as the fucking container.
Yep.
And we keep rolling. And we roll up to like, you know, you'll see a convenience store. It's not a convenience store. It's a dude with a bunch of cement blocks with like a few sundry items, you know. And everybody's just like, they see a fucking white person.
That is the mini mart, my man.
There they are. And then we stop at an actual store. I'll share this picture too. And you go look at it, you know, glance at this picture, you might think I was drinking with these two dudes. They were there drinking. I hopped in the chair in between them, grabbed the empty bottle, held it up, one like this. And you look in this picture, one of them's on his cell phone. Already like calling motherfuckers up. Boom, take the picture, get in.
Come and kidnap this
and
dude.
We get out of there. He's like, "Now I'm going to take you through the city." He's like, "I'm just going to tell you, like, we don't pick a route to the city picks our route because we can't slow down long enough." Because the second...
No cop, no stop.
Downtown fucking Johannesburg, dude. I've never seen anything like it. And it's basically like I felt like a bleeding fish in the ocean around a bunch of sharks. Because the second they see your white ass sitting there,
Americano,
and fucking they start circling, and it's just like hope the traffic clears up. And now you get to each intersection, look and take the path of least resistance. He takes me by this fucking hotel, beautiful hotel, brand new hotel. Nobody in it.
Zero guests.
Because they tried to gentrify downtown Johannesburg to bring people back, and they built this hotel, millions of dollars for this hotel. The first weekend it was open, they kidnapped a white couple, drove them around, ass raped both of them for a day, and dumped them back off. And that was the end of that fucking project. Like, they never tried bringing fucking tourism back to Johannesburg again. You know, there was we drove by a building that was like shaped like a donut,
That might scare
a huge housing building that's shaped like a donut with a massive courtyard in the center of it. And inside,
no food court.
Once they stopped picking up trash, everybody with interior windows just started throwing, you know, like 40 stories of trash in the center of this thing. Oh, no courtyard, buddy. Just full of trash. Fucking who knows what living in there. Fucking snakes and rats. And oh, man. But yeah, Joburg was the craziest. You know, that's the carjacking capital of the world. You're allowed to have like devices on your car, like flamethrowers. It sounds stupid, but you can. They got like blades that come out. Like if someone rolls up on you, it's
some
like,
Mad Max shit.
Yeah. You know, I made sure I swung through the Harley dealership and got a T-shirt. That's Harley T-shirts. People collect them. Like Johannesburg is a tough one to grab. But
the coolest one I ever seen on the Harley was a Colombia one. I think it was Medellin.
Never been to Colombia.
And it said, "We live dangerously."
Mm-hmm.
And you know how it is, man.
I got you one from Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah, you got to go for PR. It's
that one wasn't dangerous. It was right by the cruise ships.
Yeah.
How do you protect the shop?
Exactly. Yeah, it's always crazy to talk to people, you know, when they go to different places across the globe, and especially somebody like you that has no problem in the squalor and going to a gritty place.
I love it. I don't even really know why anymore. And now it's been so long that it's what I do.
Well,
like, even when we were in Connecticut, like Bridgeport, New Haven, Waterbury, Hartford, like I'm comfortable in these spots.
There's so much to learn, and you know, I mean, I've learned stuff going to South America, you know, on my own. I've learned so much from Ed, and you know, his enlightenment, and you know, he'll just put stuff in your head that you don't even think about, and people go to.
I've been dying to get one of his seminars.
People. He'll be here in September.
Cool.
Because he's got a class in up by the airport. I'm with him on that weekend.
What is it?
It's a
Your pick?
Zerpic, yeah, with Matt.
That'd be cool. Other than that, I'd go to any of his classes.
Yeah, so
I
he'll
want
be
him to do it.
he'll be back in September, and like I said, he's just such a wealth of knowledge, and besides, just a great individual.
I took a page out of his book and we bought a hog and fucking hung it up and did a blade testing last summer.
Every time we post those up, I always send them nasty messages
Yeah.
because they're testing the pigs, and I'm like, and I send them, I do a pig roast every year here for the boys.
Yeah.
So I always send them my pictures. I go, this is what you're supposed to do with them. He's like, mind your business.
But it's great, man, because like until you, like I was buying the ballistic dummies, which are cool, but
They say the pork one is the same
it's
texture.
ballistic gel
They say
and a plastic skull with bags of blood in it. And I'm not knocking that product. Like that's a great product. But like when you start cutting it, it's not skin. So the closest thing you can really do is hang a pig.
Yeah, they say wrap some pork loins.
Yep. But you want to hit bones.
Yeah,
you want to know what that blade's going to do when you hit bones. And you think about it with blades, like pretty much anything else in martial arts, like you can pressure test it, but like blade work is all theory until you cut something, and you have to be out there fucking.
So you cut something, it's all incubator.
Yeah, exactly. And there's all these people who just got it all figured out. Who it's all just fucking theory, though. Like when you hit a fucking pig in the head with a tomahawk, and it hits that skull, like. What that tomahawk's going to do. Like I tested out.
I watched that Forged in Iron. I doing all that crazy, all the crazy tests.
But that's still a dummy. It's still a dummy. Well, no, they do pigs there.
They do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, they do. That's a great show. I'm
trying to find a picture here of Jimmy. He's got the Kimber to the fucking pig's head.
Oh, the hell's out here?
I got that around here somewhere.
Until you test it on blood and skin and bone, you don't know what it's going to do. Like I tested these different tomahawks out. I talked to you about like some of the blades I like. One of the companies I like a lot, my favorite is Half Face Blades.
The guy out of San Diego, the Navy SEAL.
Yeah, Andy Arabito, retired Navy SEAL, Native American. And
I think I'm going to head out there this year, and I'm going to see if maybe I do a session out there with him.
Yeah. So basically, you've got different style of tomahawks, and again, all theory till you put it through an actual skull. Like there's a Viking tomahawk. It's got a broad.
It's all blade, so you actually hit some hard metal, some hard.
And then
shit.
you've got. I'll show you right here. But this is called the Bleeding Heart tomahawk, and some of them punch right through and into the skull. But you got to think about is that what you want? Like it over penetrates it to a degree. Like this thing right here. When I test this out, like that thing goes in and gets buried in there. Mm-hmm. And you literally got to like crank it out to get it out. Like you could fucking bury this in something and drag someone around by it because it's not coming out. But that, from a martial arts standpoint, is that what you want? You got multiple attackers. The first thing I did is I hit it with the Viking tomahawk. And that's a curve on a curve, like a baseball bat on a baseball. Like it's easy to glance. And I'm hitting it and it glances off, and I'm thinking at first, it's not penetrating well enough. But in a melee situation, that's still a kill on a guy, and then you're now able to swing over, catch him. But that thing right there sinks so deep, you go like crank it out, and you can literally drag someone around by that once it's buried. That thing bites, buddy. It's got its own agenda. I'll tell you right now. That's a production one. It's nice, but it's.
You make these?
No. That's Half Face Blades, Bleeding Heart tomahawk.
Native American.
I just collect them.
Navy SEAL out San Diego.
I just collect them.
Hey, you know, so funny. I just recently started looking at these tomahawks, and I got interested. I want one. I said,
you were looking at a tomahawk steak. That's different.
I was getting there.
I was fairly new to tomahawks, like last 4 or 5 years, actually. They're
I got love for them. I think when they're done, some of them are they're beautiful.
Yeah, and you can throw them.
And my thing is, I don't know if I spend that much coin and that beautiful, if I'm gonna make it a safe queen.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna be a bitch and be like,
that's the thing about.
Yo, can I throw this?
Fuck you. With that thing on my waist,
bro. Like you just gotta use them. Like these blades right here.
I
brought my kid just in case.
Yeah, he brought his whole kit.
But
I buy something like that. I'm gonna
Like
paint
this-
my face like fucking Mel Gibson and
this
shit.
knife right here, like this is a production level, you know. They go for about $400. Still a lot for a knife, but this is the cheaper end. You can beat the living dog shit out of this knife, and it's not gonna break. The life's too short not to carry your shit. Don't have no safe queens.
You know.
Maybe one.
You know what I
A
carry?
safe queen and a safe king, but carry the rest of them.
We were at a Power Man 5000 concert, and I took the guy's fucking blade from him. You can't come in with that blade.
Yeah.
And that's the blade I still carry to this day.
Yeah.
A nice little Gerber.
Yeah.
It's a nice little fucking. I carry that blade all the fucking
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And I got that blade probably. It's probably been what 30
Bro,
fucking years. Maybe?
before I started spending a lot,
45 years.
before I started spending a lot on these blades, and I'll tell you right now, like you can bet your ass on a CRKT, on a Cold Steel.
Yep.
Like it's not about how much money that is. I like some fancy fucking knives in my life that also are really. Oh, here we go. Did you make this?
No, that Jerry Saunders from Corvus Revival, the guy out in Yosemite.
Oh, okay, you were talking about.
Great dude, Jerry.
Yeah.
But that's my butcher knife.
This is a little mini machete.
Yeah, it's a little mini, and what you would call it. I told him, I said, I need a butcher knife, and I said, I give you all artistic freedom. I said, get back to me, and that was it. And that thing got some hogs under it.
Yeah, nice, dude.
You know?
See, I'm new to a kitchen. I'm new to cooking. I'm new to all that shit. So like, and I pick up a blade. The first thing I see is a weapon. But yeah.
Well, yes, Jerry made this thing for me.
like them to
I love this
We
thing.
retired from the Department of Corrections. Everything is a weapon.
No, I get you. God, I've learned a couple of things from my old man who was an addict.
Our number 2 pencil.
That was his
Your
job.
number 2 pencil is our shank, brother. Don't get
Yeah,
it twisted.
yeah, absolutely.
You know?
We had to stop giving them the psyllium, the Metamucil with psyllium.
Yeah,
The psyllium is hard fiber.
Yeah.
These guys would go back and fucking make a strip of it, let it harden up, and sharpen it. So
Yeah.
now you got a fucking fiber shank goes through the metal detectors. We could have given no more.
it's tattooed inside my lip. Don't mind any weapon.
That's
Like
it.
if it's got mass, like you can turn it into something. My father did the I Love New York tour, which is he did 5 prisons in New York State, and his job was he ran the maggot truck, and that's actually the trash truck in New York Correctional. It's a flatbed, and call it the maggot truck because his job within his gang was to actually keep it nice and nasty with a layer of maggots, so that underneath those maggots, his job was actually to transport steel from the shop to get it back into the prison for everyone to make shanks. And I say everyone, I don't just mean his crew. Every gang counted on that one crew to get the metal and to make the shanks.
Yep.
This is resonating with you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
said. He's like, oh.
We've been there, done that.
You know, but yeah, like he told me one time that there was a guy in the Latino gang or whatever he had beef with, and this guy was way up on the totem pole, but his job was so important to every gang in there that that dude's own crew fucked him up for fucking with him because they've been fucking with the source for metal, you know. So yeah, people are gonna find a way, dude.
You have to stop you real quick. I just noticed
Yeah.
your shirt.
Yes, sir.
I got the same thing.
Yes,
Look
sir.
at that. I just noticed.
You wore yours, I'll
We're
wear
in the
mine.
gang.
Yeah.
You know?
We're in the game.
Yeah, man.
I can now graffiti.
So
Let's do shit together.
that's where do you think this BEA thing's going here in Connecticut?
Where do I think it's going or
Yeah.
how it's going?
Or where do you think it's gonna go?
They tried to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And they couldn't. It's funny because if for such a blue state, fucking lefty fucking cunt state in so
Constitution
many
state.
ways, it's the
Constitution.
Constitution state. And
Constitution.
yeah, but it's also like Taylor versus Tainer, that Supreme Court ruling is from Connecticut. So it's also it's funny because it's one of the strongest bail states.
And I
So it's the worst state to try to get rid of bail.
You know what's so great about that Taylor versus Tainer, you know what I mean, that case, so how it says that if we find it necessary, we could pick the guy up on the Sabbath.
Yeah, which
And-
is
and
code for drag him out of a church.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It says we can
But
get
that's
him
how
on the
that's
Sabbath.
how long ago this thing was written.
Right.
Who the
On
fuck
the
talks like
Sabbath.
that?
Exactly. But that's like our for BEA.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
That's the case law that I have to teach. These guys got to know
Yeah.
out there, and then it's just like Taylor versus Taylor.
One thing
man.
they weren't counting on, I think, and I say they, like people who thought they were going to get rid of bail in Connecticut, was COVID and George Floyd, because it fucking changed everything. Like I don't got to tell you, like everything's changed, and like cats out there don't give a fuck. They're still rocking balaclavas, and they're just you see the tinted windshields now, and they're not getting pulled over for it. Like, that's a sign that law enforcement's on its heels. And listen, it is what it is. Like, they stopped doing any law enforcement during
We
COVID.
all come from the law
No, I
enforcement
get that.
field, and believe me,
Yeah.
everybody will tell you, unless it's something very egregious,
Right.
we're gonna sit back.
Yeah, and as a libertarian, I'm not even opposed to that to a degree. Like,
Because you put yourself in a position the way these people just backed up.
Yeah.
They left you on an island themselves. So
yeah,
you gotta pick
dude,
and
I
choose.
understand it.
You gotta pick and choose what's worth me losing my fucking well-being. Let's fucking put it to the fucking test. It's like playing Russian roulette with your fucking career.
Yeah.
So
Look what
now
the
you gotta
teacher.
pick, am I gonna pull this guy over for a fucking front tinted window?
Right? No, because you could just blast you through that.
That's
shit.
it. I'm
Dude,
not
I
putting
get
myself
it.
on the line.
And I'll tell you, like, what has changed is I feel like now between as far as law enforcement and bail enforcement, it's brought us closer together. Because now what I sense in Connecticut, it's more like down south and out west. Like, if you got a badge, you got a badge. And if you're taking bad guys off the street, you're taking bad guys off the street. And down west, out west, and down south, nobody fucks with you. But before I moved down south, my first years in Connecticut, it was cops fucking with us. Like, not all. And I feel like, we were talking about like a motorcycle club or law enforcement or any group of people, each person is an individual. And you can't just paint people with that broad ass fucking brush, because I meet cops every day, and I kind of, there's two little categories I can see, like, and I'll call them, like, sometimes it's we don'ts. Right off the rip, it's like, I hear them in the lobby, like, we don't, and we don't, and we don't. And then there's happy to. It's like, you're happy to do your job, you can tell if someone wants to be doing it or not. And no matter what you're doing, I feel like if you get disgruntled, go do something else, like.
I used to listen. I was a shift commander.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of people under me, and I tell them all the time, listen, nobody put a gun to your head this morning until you fucking come to work.
Right.
You came because you wanted to. You don't want to be here, feel free to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
You don't have to do this fucking job. I don't have to put you on a fucking post. Don't come back.
Yeah.
You
But
come
shit
back,
got-
do your fucking job.
Shit got stupid though, man. I ain't gotta tell you. Like, when I was sitting there and I saw Minneapolis, I saw a police department go up in flames and cops running, I was like, holy fuck, like, everything's changed. Like, I told Jimmy, like, Jimmy doesn't qual us with rifles, because why should you have a 5.56 in a project? Like, that round's gonna jump up through all kinds of fucking, it's just not
It
safe.
makes sense.
And not only that, I'm on
clear
a
800-foot apartment with a fucking rifle, man.
and I'm on a team of maybe 4 guys. Like, if you got a long gun, you're committed to that long gun. Like, you can't set it down.
You're in a tight ass ghetto apartment.
Yeah.
That thing is a hindrance.
Absolutely.
And that's why guys are like, oh, Jim, I'm gonna go to someone else. Go.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sign up because you want to be tactical.
Right.
The minute that fucking round goes astray, fuck somebody up. Hey, who did your training? Who the fuck
Right,
qualified you?
absolutely.
No.
Yeah.
But what I tell him is,
I'm not doing
what I tell him, and an exception was made, because I just made it abundantly clear, like, I'm not taking this long gun to serve a warrant with. But what I've seen, we talk about Johannesburg real quick, after George Floyd and COVID, in Bridgeport, in New Haven, it's cooled off a little bit, but I felt the same way. Like, people were like, oh, look who it is. White guy with a badge. Let's gather around. Like, so I carry a long gun, but I don't hit houses with it. But we jokingly call it we save it for the crack hawk down moment.
Crack hawk down.
Call it crack hawk down. Because let's face it, like, some shit could go down where we're serving a warrant, and we've got to fucking blast our way out of that project to get fucking. And that sounds insane to some people. These people haven't walked where we walked.
No.
You know what I mean?
I have no problem with somebody on the team being responsible for that long gun, but not everybody.
No, absolutely. And my guy carries a Remington shotgun with bean bags, and he backs it up with slugs and buckshot. Yeah. But you could be on a fucking I-91 next week, and some white cop shoots a fucking black guy in wherever in America. They put it on the news, and the next thing you know, traffic stops, and fucking you see what you saw during George Floyd.
Yeah.
And I'm going fucking home tonight. So.
Well, I've said it 100. Oh, it's so crazy. I'll talk. I didn't even get to talk to you about this. I get a call last Friday. So last Friday, I'm getting my provisions ready. Me and Tim and another one of our guys, we're going to see Sammy Hagar and George Thorogood.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm getting everything ready. So
I seen your video.
So some guy calls me from New York, and he starts off, hey, I got a panel together. I want you on my panel. I'm like, what is it about? Oh, guns and all this. I got attorney this guy. I got attorney that one. And I'm like, yeah, that and $1 gets you on a bus with me. Mm-hmm. So he's over there trying to sell me his rhetoric. And he's a brother. So, you know what I mean? I think he thought he had me, and he thought he had me at hello. And I don't know why this guy picked up on whatever he picked up on out of me. Because so when he was done, I go, okay, is it my turn? And I told him, I said, dude, you think I give a fuck about these fatherless fucks getting killed? I said, I don't care. I said, dude, who am I? I said, bro, a black and a brown life is not worth anything unless a white guy shoots him. Because when it's black on black, brown on brown, it's status quo. It's business as usual.
Doesn't even make the news.
I said, look at here, Hartford, Connecticut last year. A 54-year-old woman, Puerto Rican lady, 54, cooking rice and beans for her son to come home from work. She caught a stray bullet. There was no Puerto Rico flags out there. There was no marching, no banging on pots and pans. They didn't want the fucking police chief, the mayor's head on a platter. They weren't talking about transparency. Right. But when a fucking fatherless fuck gets killed at 3 a.m, Papito, Big Dog, Little Dog, Big Tony, Rigatoni, when this little fucker gets killed at 3 a.m, they want to pull out his Little League picture. Right. They want to pull out his picture when he was Tigger on Halloween. Fuck you, dude. You should have been home watching Netflix.
Because that fits the narrative.
Exactly. So don't come to me thinking that I'm going to be on your fucking panel because, just because I'm a fucking tattooed spick. And you think, hey, I'm gonna fucking follow your narrative, brother. Yeah. Fuck you. I told the guy, I go, I'm not your token monkey.
Yeah.
I'm not. I said, dude, keep shopping.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I didn't know. Exactly. You assumed that I was your token monkey. Yeah. I'm not your token monkey.
Okay.
And you want to call me a sellout? You want to call me, I don't give a fuck, dude. I get enough hate mail as it is. I could give a fuck less about you and your narrative. Fuck you and the doctor who delivered you. Yeah. But yeah, Cat wants to call me if I want to be on his panel. Yeah. Man, fuck you. Fag.
Tell us how you really feel,
Jimmy. Jimmy.
And I'm in the middle.
Don't hold back.
Hold on,
just let it out.
And I'm in the middle of listening to some George Thorogood and Sammy trying to get pumped for my show.
Yo, I want to hear a quick funny
story
to bring you back.
Hold on, please. So we would we go to see these guys on Friday. Sammy, 74? George, 72?
Wow. Yeah.
Let me tell you something.
Awesome.
I seen George Thorogood about six times. I've seen him a bunch of times at Toad's Place. And, you know what I mean? I don't know, man. By the time he usually plays I Drink Alone or one bourbon, one scotch, one beer, I'm usually a little, you know how it is. Great timing. So, I told these guys, I go, dude, you're in for a good show. I said, George Thorogood comes out.
He's awesome.
He puts his foot on the gas and he don't tap the brakes.
Yeah.
And what was it? By the third song, he did I Drink Alone. Place went bullshit at the amphitheater in Bridgeport. Third song in, he did I Drink Alone, and it was just like.
I saw him when I was 17, and not since. But
where?
Albany, New York. Palace Theater, I want to say.
Okay.
Awesome. But Sammy Hagar, just real quick funny story. My old man used to wander around the country fucking doing sheetrock. He lived out in California. He lived with this dude. It was like a roommate, not much of a friend. He said the guy was kind of a douchebag, an idiot, whatever. But he was a huge Van Halen fan. And this guy put in pools, and he ends up putting in Sammy Hagar's pool. Yeah. And he hears, he knows that Sammy Hagar smokes weed, and this guy smokes weed. So he's waiting to meet Sammy, you know what I mean? Thinks he's in his fantasy, he's going to fucking smoke a joint with fucking Sammy Hagar. And he's putting in the pool, and the job comes to the end, and he's never seen him at the house. So he goes and he knocks on the fucking door.
No, he's that stop.
He's that guy. And Sammy Hagar opens the fucking door, and he's like, this is his line. He thinks he's fucking got it like that. He's like, hey man, you got a joint? To Sammy. And Sammy Hagar's like, you got to get the fuck out of here. It slams the door in his face, and that's the end of the fucking story.
Hey, but he for effort. He tried.
Yeah, sure.
He wasn't going home without.
But what are you thinking? You're like, Sammy Hagar's is like, that's his house. Like, that's his. No jokes aside, that's his castle. Like, come knocking on. There's only, he'd have a moat. He'd have a moat if he could.
Right? He might even get shot.
You just put the moat in. That doesn't mean you can come across the cross, right?
Yeah.
Yo, you got a joint. Oh my god.
Oh, shit.
It's crazy. We're at Sammy the other day. Some weirdo comes over from 2-3 cars over. You would have wigged out on this guy. Some weirdo ass dude. Some over there got the blender going. We got the kind of salad going. Dude comes over and he's like, "You guys want to smoke? You guys want to get high?" And we're like,
You trying to
no.
trade your joint for a fucking steak?
So he leaves this fucking joint on the table, and I'm like, yo, take your fucking fentanyl laced
Yeah,
fucking
right.
stick.
Nowadays,
I'm like, I don't know you motherfuckers. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Yep, that's just funny shit.
Yeah, man. But yeah, some weirdo ass dude. But yeah, it was cool. Yes, Sammy put on a good show. George put on a great show, and we had a good time. You know what I mean?
I would have loved to seen Van Halen back in the day with David Lee.
So of course, you know, we're going. You know, Sammy Hagar wrote most of the soundtrack for Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so of course I had to wear my Fast Times. I had to wear my Spicoli shirt, and like so many dudes were going by, going, dude, I got doing it all night.
I mentioned how our founding Grandmaster Pi, Daniel Pi, was a bodyguard. He also did David Lee Roth, and what a lot of people don't know is, so a lot of those jumping, spinning kicks that he was doing, David's martial arts.
That was all kung fu.
Yeah, he literally was teaching them that on the bus. They had a little spot just big enough to train, and if you go watch the video for Panama,
oh yeah, he's all over them.
So he's all over the place, and David Lee Roth is the show. But if you notice, there's a part there when the other three guys in the band are underneath a disco ball, and they're just going like this. Look at their pants. They're blue pants with white stripes, and that's our style's kung fu pants at the time in the 80s. So they were all training. Yeah. A lot of rock stars like to train a little with their body.
Did you ever catch the episode with Joe Rogan with David Lee on it?
No.
So David Lee he kind of like just, you know, wanted to be a normal person, living in New York City, takes the EMT course. He's working on an ambulance.
That's cool.
So he starts saying that they partner him up with some like real like tough black chick. So he's like, you know, this chick's showing me the ropes. He goes, she's OG on the bus. He goes, she's schooling me. So he said it like a couple of times, you know, dudes would wake up off whatever. They'd be like, David Lee Roth? Imagine being fucking in a car accident.
Yeah, you would think you fucking hit your head too hard.
That's some funny shit. Oh, man.
So how cool would it be to work with him?
But yeah,
he's got such fucking
no,
good
he was
energy.
saying it. He was saying it. He was him and this chick were working the night shift, and like he just spoke of her like he was like, yo, that was my girl. He goes, she looked out for me.
Someone like undercover boss.
It was
with a fake mustache on.
Cats working the night shift, you know, in Manhattan, man. I'm like, imagine the shit at EMT sees in New York City.
Well, that's like that show with fucking Steven Seagal. You ever see that? He rolls up into Paris.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's like, holy shit, it's Steven Seagal.
Yeah,
Can I get your autograph? No, I'm here to arrest you.
Yeah.
You can see my signature on the warrant, bitch.
I took the oath. Turn it around.
Man.
Hands behind your fucking back.
That's funny shit.
That's cool. That's cool. What's your hold on a second. What's your Instagram?
It's at Bounty Hunter Cam.
At Bounty Hunter Cam. Check it out. My boy got some good videos on there. He got one. He got attacked by the pit bull. Didn't want to hurt the pit bull, and he was still getting attacked. You showed some really, like I said, you could tell you're a dog guy because when that pit bull came after you, you know he was on you. You could have stabbed him up, but you didn't.
I could have stabbed him. Could have shot him. The last thing I want to do is hurt or kill anybody, especially a fucking nice, beautiful dog. But I learned something from that interaction right there. Like I was lucky it was just him. And I learned that if two dogs attack me, I have to start shooting. I can't fight. That's not the first pit bull I've dealt with. You know, and he came at me low. So, and I had summertime, I was wearing shorts. And, you know, in Chinese martial arts, they call it ditan. Ditan means up from the ground. So you're kicking off the ground, using the ground to kick with. And just instinctively, like in the video, it looks like I fell over. I went to the ground because I was trying to buy enough time to spray him. I fucking went down to the ground. I'm kicking him. I reach for my spray. I get it out. I got it backwards.
Oh, no way.
So I didn't spray myself. I didn't get my finger on the button. So I'm spinning it around to spray him. And I finally start spraying. In the meantime, in my other hand, I'm trying to grab it by the collar. Because that's been my go-to. Like, if a dog's got some distance and they're running, once they jump, if you can stand up high, it's the opposite of what I did that day. But in a room, if you can stand up high and get them to jump off the ground, like the second they're like a bullet, they're ballistic. They can't change their trajectory. So if you can get a hold of that collar, if they've got one on,
just point them up.
Just don't let them go back down. You know what I mean? And so I'm trying to grab for this collar, and I missed the collar, and I get up and I get him by the jaw, and he bit me. If you look here, bro. This is all that dog did to me. That's not even on the knuckle. That tiny little scar right there. But I bought enough time to start spraying him. And he stopped when I spray him. And that's not because it was burning. It's a state breaker. That's how you win a fight.
You broke his chain of thought.
You fucking make him go to somewhere else. He went from a state of aggression to a state of wonder.
Change the channel. Change
that fucking channel. And then,
like I said,
he just.
I always watch your videos, and you know what I mean, and I always enjoy when you come around for training.
See, my ADHD just kicked in. I opened this phone up to go to your Instagram.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm on my Instagram.
But listen, it's like I appreciate you mentioning that. But I'll tell you right now, like even my wife asked me, like,
instead of going to
even have that, I gained nothing to gain from it. Actually, quite the opposite. Because this isn't Dog the fucking bounty hunter. And everybody thinks it is. And I just want people to know what it's really like.
The problem is Ramon went to body hunter. Now, that's he went to body hunter, not bounty hunter, fucker. Come on.
But I like putting the stuff up there, letting people see what it's really about.
I just laugh like how many guys that, like, I hate to say, like, I can see sometimes like, dude, you're never gonna make it in the industry. And I try to tell guys, when you get out there, you're gonna be a backdoor man. And if you can't make it as a backdoor man, nobody's going to invest in you.
Yeah.
And so many guys are like, yo,
the thing about the backdoor, though, is half the time that's where the fucking action is. And I tell my guys, like, listen, when you're out back here, like, I get it, like, you might feel like you're the backdoor guy. Keep your finger on that fucking button of the radio.
In high school,
because the second the door bursts open, let us know you've got something going on. Because you're going to be fucking tussling with this motherfucker, and we're not going to know. So the first thing is, even if it's like, make some fucking noise, you will know, because people go running out the back fucking door. There's a lot of action on the back door. It's an important role.
A couple of years ago, I ended up going out to the Triangle up in California. Mm-hmm. That was sketchy.
Mm-hmm. I seen the documentary.
You watched any of those Humboldt?
Yes.
Have you seen any of that Humboldt?
Oh yeah.
So we went out there. We went out to grab a dude. Yeah. Big, huge bond. So, I'll only go out with a few dudes.
Yeah.
If you got no tactics, you got no brain, I ain't going nowhere. Yeah. So they said, come out there. We went out there, and we had this dude within an hour of being in town. And but it was funny because we're sitting in front of a house, and this house looks like a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. And I look at the garage, and it's all boarded up, and I look on top, they got a beautiful exhaust fan. And I look at the phone pole and got a 300 amp service. Mm-hmm. They're growing in there. Mm-hmm. So I tell, my boy that I'm with, I'm like, that's a grow house. He goes, how do you know? I got a 300 amp service. Yeah. I go, unless he's running Bridgeports and CNCs in there or welders, I go, that exhaust, brand new. Look at that thing. I go, they're growing in there.
Yeah.
We went into this town, man, where they have this big fishing tournament. And like walking down the streets, bro, it looks like a bunch of zombies because there's all these cats just walking around, and it's just like, oh my God, bro, these people are just methed out.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything that close till we went to this place in Cali for that. And I was just like, yo, this is crazy shit.
Meth is fucking nuts, dude.
And you said you saw some of the Humboldt County.
I saw the documentary on that triangle.
So that
people just fucking disappear.
Well, the problem is right there is because it started off as just hippies growing a little bit of weed. And damn, I forgot the name of the guy. He was on Rogan because he was a park ranger out there, and he wrote a book about it. And then Ed Calderon even said, this is what's going to happen. Now what happened is the cartel went up there and took it. It's taking the land from the hippies. And they say every time at harvest season, I'm not going to steal your plants when they're half grown. I'm going to wait till you grow them, feed them. And once you harvest them, I'm going to show up with some guns and steal your bales of weed.
Yeah.
And some guy wrote a really good book. And he was, like I said, he was a ranger out there, and he was just talking about how it's the Wild West.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you go out there, man, these guys are all AR'd out, they're AK-47'd up, and they're just growing out there, and it's the Wild West. So there's those three counties that they call the Emerald Triangle, and they got disappearing people up
Oh,
there.
dude, it's like an epidemic.
it is an epidemic.
People fly
up there.
out there to just get jobs like fucking trimming weed
trimming.
and shit, and then
They
they
go
get
up there
fucking
for-
kidnapped and fucking raped and fucking murdered. And
Yeah,
that's
they
it.
go up there for trimming and shit, and
If
just
you come around there looking for your lost loved one, you'll get fucking disappeared too. Like that's how it is out there.
the craziest thing is
it's
you saw when the
lawless.
cops went up in there. You got all these dudes on the dirt bikes strapped up, and
Yeah,
they're like, yeah, they're our escort.
they gotta have convoys.
Yeah, that shit was nuts up there, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I went up there a couple of years ago, and I was just like, whoa.
yeah. Cops aren't safe up there.
No, and these people, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like the only thing I think the only way I think you could solve it up there is like realistically send the military in.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about,
Well, you're talking cartels. They've got that type of resource. That's what it gets to. Like that's the level it gets to.
but I'm talking about for us, if we wanted to solve that up there,
Yeah.
we'd have to send in,
Yeah.
we'd have to send in the devil dogs with the tanks.
Yep.
And just say, you know what, bro?
It's beyond law enforcement solving it.
Yeah, just because you went and found a little farm and you burnt it down, woo!
It's a drop in the bucket.
If you don't want to call it that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, that shit was crazy.
Yeah.
But like I said, Doug, we appreciate you coming by today.
Absolutely, dude. I'm
We got
honored
the-
to
no,
be here. I
man,
had a
like
great
I said,
time.
we've been-
How long
we've
we been doing? How long have we been running our mouths here?
136.
136
There you go,
right
see?
there. We got the clock.
And we weren't even trying.
Yeah.
No,
It's just so easy to
no,
flow,
we
man.
just,
Yeah.
you know what I
That's some
mean?
good content shit we want to hear. That's
Yeah.
good, man.
Yeah,
Good
man.
times, man.
I appreciate you guys having
What was it like being on the road with the park? Because that's when they were obviously,
It was awesome, dude. Listen,
what
you
yeah,
know,
what number one, how
First
did
of
you
all-
feel? How did you feel when you got the news about Chester?
I cried, man.
I imagine.
I don't want to talk about it
Alright.
because you see, no man fucking crying on your podcast.
Huh?
But that dude,
You know, I did the first
that
one.
dude was awesome. I didn't work for him until so in the middle of touring with Linkin Park, they take time off from their tour, and referring to my buddy Ed Baker, he said to me like, because Stone Temple Pilots was one of the bands that our company managed.
Was that one still where Weiland was
No,
wrong?
so Scott Weiland was done with the band, but there's an awesome band that basically just couldn't tour because they didn't have their singer, and when they did have him, like he was just too fucking fucked up. It's basically what it is. No disrespect to him, rest in peace, but that dude couldn't tour. That's how wild he was. Like, there's no fake rock star part of Scott Weiland. That dude was legit who he was. But then they wanted to tour, so for an album or two, I can't remember how many albums they recorded, Chester sang for Stone Temple Pilots. And now this was going to be some downtime from Linkin Park. And I was like, hey, I'd love to go out and be security, because Stone Temple Pilots, like the brothers in that band, they're awesome. Like, and they're Jersey boys. Like they don't need security. Like they'll punch you in the fucking mouth if you cross them. But Chester, Chester needed a guy. Chester's was that famous, and at the time there was, any like someone who's really into a band might start like hating a new singer. You can replace a band member, but when you try to replace a singer, it's not necessarily going to go well. So there was some concern, that someone might try to fucking throw something at Chester.
Journey.
And unless we're done, you got to run.
No.
Real quick story.
No.
Listen, we got.
It's funny that I ended up working for Stone Temple Pilots because when I was in my early 20s, when they first came out, and it was alternative was big.
Remember when that first tape came out from
Yes.
SCP? There was a Core.
Yeah.
Oh my
So-
God! When Core came out, that was like mind blowing. You're like, who is this guy singing?
Awesome. So I, kind of grew up listening to them in that sense. So, but I went to see Stone Temple Pilots when I was in my early 20s in Massachusetts. It was at like a Polish American club that was on a lake, and it was a daytime show. I'll never forget this shit. And I ended up telling the guys in the band the story, and they'll never forget it because they lived it. I went to this show. I'm up front. Stone Temple Pilots. The ticket said Stone Temple Pilots, Butthole Surfers, Flaming Lips.
Satan.
So,
Surfers.
but they're fucking awesome.
I know.
No, they smashed it. In fact, even though Stone Temple Pilots was the headliner because they were the most popular band at the time, they only had those songs on that album,
Yeah.
so they played second. So Flaming Lips plays. They're like an opening band at the time, and I never really got into them, but whatever. Like I said, there was a beach back there. Like people were throwing shit at Flaming Lips. That's just not fucking cool. Like, I don't care like who you're there to see, who you don't like. Stone Temple Pilots came out second. And it's daytime. I'll never forget. Scott Weiland comes out, and right off the rip, he's pissed that people were throwing stuff at the Flaming Lips. And he's like, I don't care if you like a band or not. You don't throw things at a crowd. You don't throw things from the crowd at a band, blah, blah, blah. He read the riot act to the crowd. And Stone Temple Pilots starts up. And they weren't fucking like 3 chords in, bro. And I seen a fucking Pepsi cup full of sand come flying up over and hit Eric's fucking drum kit. And Scott's like, stop. And he saw the guy who fucking did it. He's like, you right there. Come to Papa. And I look back, bro. And the crowd, crowd surfing was a big thing at the time. They picked this dude up, this fucking white trash motherfucker with a fucking blonde mullet and a neon wife beater. No, you can't make this shit up. And they serve him.
Like you were worried last week.
No, they serve him all the way up to, and I'm sitting right by the barrier, and there's no security in the space between the barricade and the stage. And they deposit this motherfucker. And Scott Weiland jumps down with his mechanic shirt on, STP, and they square off. And Scott fucking swings at him and misses, and the guy goes, boom, and fucking rocks Scott Weiland. Not out, but down, like almost fucking out, and jumps on him. And Robert, the bass player, the Phillies Blunt bass, remember he had that Phillies Blunt sticker on the, he fucking jumps down and swings it like a battle axe and cracks this motherfucker over the back of the head and knocks him out cold on top of Scott Weiland. You can't make this shit up. Like Scott's like trying to like come to, and he peels himself out from under, and they get back up and they fucking play.
Mike Tyson said everybody got a plan. You got punched in the face.
Yeah, and then so here comes the Butthole Surfers. They play next, and they fucking slayed it. They played for like 2 hours. You know what I mean? But so fast forward, like I was like, I'm working for Lincoln Park. There's downtime, and they're like, I get the fucking Stone Temple Pilots gig, but I'd never worked with Chester before. Okay, you would think that you work for a band, and I saw Chester and I've communicated with him, but when
he's not your principal,
necessary, he's not my principal.
He's not your principal.
So I go on tour with Stone Temple Pilots, and I'm their security director. I'm the only security we got, and I was there just in case someone fucking tried to throw some shit at fucking Chester, But Chester and I weren't talking because I never really knew him. You know what I mean? And we're like 4 shows in, and it's just honestly like kind of awkward. Like, yeah, he comes outside, smokes a cigarette, but I got to be there with him. But we're not chatting, and I'm not going to get into too much politics with the band and shit. But I was trained by the company, the Browning Group, that when you with your artist, you call them sir. And that's just respect. Listen, I call anybody sir. You know what I mean? But it was mixed reviews as how that was received. Like, and the production manager had said to me, like, I got the tour manager telling me, make sure you call him sir, and I got the production manager going, he doesn't like it when you call him sir. Chester's not Mr. Authoritarian, and he sees it as fucking authoritarian. So like, we're like 4 shows in, and it's like awkward. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's the only story I'm gonna tell you because it's a good ending to it. And we're out back in Texas, and he's smoking a cigarette, and I'm just like, if he's not talking to you, you don't talk to him. But I just fucking had it with this, like, what do I call you? So I'm like, listen, so I just got a question. I said, I got one guy telling me you want to be called sir, and I got another guy telling me you can't stand it. I go, which is it? I'll call you President fucking Bennington if you want. He laughed. He's like, honestly, I think it conveys respect, and I do appreciate that you guys call us sir, so you can keep doing that. And then the tension was gone. We clicked, and at the end of that tour, he gave me a big hug and a thank you, But that's as directly as I worked for him was on that tour. Yep.
Any crazy shit that you had to deal with?
With Stone Temple Pilots?
Yeah.
Not really. There's a lot of super fans, and they're the ones at the meet and greets, and you get it.
They go from one town to another.
Yeah, and some of those dudes are chill, and they get their place, and they still just want to meet the band every time, and that's fine. But there was like a controversy because Scott wasn't touring, and so there was a lot of people online talking shit like, "Oh, you're not Scott Weiland," and blah blah blah. Like, those are the people who don't fucking really get it.
Like,
you know what I mean?
I worked a couple of years ago. I worked a Chicago show, and I stood outside as people were leaving, and all you heard was one thing. What do you think it was? He ain't Peter Cetera. I felt so bad for that guy because all you heard was, well, it was okay, but he's not Peter Cetera.
It depends where you're at in life. Because I used to do the same shit,
and it was just like, it's like, okay.
Well,
I've seen Rush.
Peter Cetera liked it.
I've seen Rush 13, 14 times. Do I think anybody's ever going to step in that drum kit that I'm going to approve of? I probably already have a preconceived prejudice against fucking anybody that's even think they're going to step in that drum kit and, play Tom Sawyer with the boys.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll admit that, I'm probably wrong for it. Yeah. But,
No, it's the same time, though, like, you talk about STP. Like, Scott Weiland, like that motherfucker was a real rock star. But, he didn't take care of himself. So there came a point when even he couldn't sing his own shit. And like he used to.
You just saw him on stage, and he was a mess. He was a mess.
But Chester, when I heard Chester was going to sing, as an STP fan, I was like, I don't know, how can he do that? But I never knew how good of a singer Chester was until I saw him sing for another band, because that motherfucker could really sing, But like when I was young, I grew up on listening to the Misfits. I was into punk rock and shit, and I always wanted to see the Misfits, and they were broken up before I ever listened to them. And then they wrote an album, they had a new singer, and they started touring. And where we were at in our early 20s, and we were into punk and hardcore, we were just too hardcore about it. We went to see the Misfits with Michael Graves singing. It's the singer is the tough thing to replace, And I'm like,
how old are you?
I'm 48.
Okay, so we're all there. I was talking with Tim growing up. The first time you heard Rob Halford was gay. What was your reaction the first time?
I'm not a metal guy unless it's so. Growing up, I have no reaction to that because I just never listened to Judas Priest.
Oh, shit! See,
we're priests. It was in our school. It was punk rock before hardcore happened. It was punk rock or metal, and we didn't dislike each other, but we weren't hanging out together. And like fucking hair bands, all that shit, can't stand it. Like my first metal band I ever listened to was Slayer, and they were talking about late in the game, '92, Seasons in the Abyss. I was like, well, now. What's this fucking metal thing actually?
I remember all the dudes rocking the rockers on their denim jackets.
I can't, like, hair bands just can't fucking do it. So I don't know. I have no opinion.
So I just remember the first time somebody told me,
Jimmy had a Levi vest with the white stripe. What was it?
White Lion?
No, bitch. Remote had a Cinderella one.
White Snake. There you go.
Remote had a Cinderella one. I actually probably chose to wear a White Snake because, I am a Rudy Sarzo bass fan. Rudy being a Cuban dude, got to give him mad love.
It's tough to replace a singer, period.
Yeah, it is. It is. Like I said, it's just like, But yeah, like I said, when I worked at Chicago show, and people were just like, he's not Peter Cetera. He didn't sing Glory of Love the way I like. Shut up, bitch.
Listen, I got a good version of Glory of Love. So I was let down too, like lead singers not being the singers. So one time we were doing some singing, and Jimmy was singing some "Hello, Pussycat." Did not sound like Tom Jones, but we let it go.
I go up for karaoke, right? And I tell him, I said, I'm going to sing "What's Up, Pussycat." So he tells this guy at the bar, he goes, yo, my buddy's going to say pussy a bunch of times and not get kicked out of here. And the guy goes, if your boy says that, they're going to kick him out. So Ramon goes, I'll bet you 2 shots. So I get up there and I sing "What's Up, Pussycat" by Tom Jones. So Ramon's like,
every other word is "hello, Pussycat."
So sure enough, I get back after I'm done. We got 2 shots. Ramon hustled a couple dudes out of that one. Because they're like, dude, if you say that, they're going to kick you out of here. We're like, we got this down. But yeah, man, that's some good stuff, man. Good stuff out there. Yeah, Scott Weiland, I'm still upset. I could have went and saw him at BB King's in New York one night when he was there with Velvet Revolver. And I couldn't make it. And I was so heated. Yeah. Because my buddy was the head of security over there. And big shout out to my man Patrick from 125th Harlem. And he's like, you coming down for this, right? And I'm like, dude, I can't. He's like, what do you mean? We got Velvet Revolver. You're not coming down for this? And I'm like, dude, don't rub it in. And That could have been my one Velvet Revolver freaking.
It's good to see just in general shows starting up again. Like
After
all that, shut the industry, touring industry down.
I took a 2-year kick in the teeth, and you know what I mean. I took it hard, so
yeah.
It definitely sucks.
I'm finally far enough out of touring to where I can enjoy a show again as a guest,
patron.
Their patron, Like I saw Slipknot last October, buddy, and I've never seen them live.
We did Slipknot 20-something years ago.
Yeah, me too.
Corey just stopped the show the other night. Some fan got hurt. Nobody was doing nothing. He stopped the show. Somebody got hurt in the pit, and they just left the dude. Yeah. So Corey stopped the show. Yeah, we did Slipknot 25 years ago at least.
When they first came out.
Oh yeah, when they first came out, you know.
That was the easiest gig.
I did venue for them once.
I was actually working the night the bass player. Yeah. You know, when that dude freaking went out. Yeah. I was there that night. And but yeah, Slipknot was crazy, man.
Yeah, they were really good live. Like that, they're tight as hell. Like again, I seen them just last October. And then the only other time I saw them, I was doing venue security, and whatever the percussionist that hit, the one that hits the fucking keg with the baseball bat, I was posted up right in front of him, and it was like, I know he's a professional and he's just not gonna miss, but like I just would hear that ting and turn around and look up, and there's this motherfucker like looming over a keg of beer with a bat, and I'm like, oh my god, please don't fucking miss. But that was I lose track of time, 20 fucking years ago or something. But I'm looking forward to seeing some shows.
What
show? Going to see the Black Crowes this summer. Ooh, nice.
I'll say one thing, man. What's his name there? The lead singer. He don't stop. Chris.
Are you talking about Slipknot?
No, I'm talking about Black Crowes.
Oh, Black Crowes. I'm sorry.
That dude, I've seen them a couple times.
I've never seen them. And they're playing that whole album.
They're doing
Moneymaker.
Yeah, they're doing Shake Your Money Maker. Yeah, that's that. Like I said, what's his name? He's
all brothers, right, in the band?
Huh?
He's brothers in that band.
A couple of them.
2 or 3.
Yeah. So some good stuff coming up this summer. We're going to go hit some shows. We're gonna go hit some shows this summer. So I want to go see Rod Stewart this summer at Jones Beach. Pitbull. I got Pitbull if we want it. Yep. Dale on a Friday night. Pitbull, son.
We're there. Listen, let's go back to him though. So all right, let's take this to so you were making the glass in high school. Yeah. Go to the Marine Corps. Yeah. Start doing your security gig. Yeah. All that stuff, Jimmy. Hit him.
This is our magical phone booth here, right? Oh. So in our magical phone booth, you know,
we're both gonna fit in there.
Ramon has parties with all his friends in that phone booth. They all fit in there.
That's where I held my retirement party.
If you could go into that phone booth, pick up the phone and talk to the 20-year-old version of yourself. Wow. What would you tell them? What would what would you give them? What insight would you give them right now at this point in your life? What would you say, yo, dude, do this, don't do that?
Brush your fucking teeth. Brush your teeth in the morning and at night and do a really good job with it.
So you don't got to give the dentist $1 million?
Yeah. That's the first thing off the top of my head. I don't know. Let me think about that for a second.
Go ahead.
I really don't have many regrets in life.
You could, take a second, think about it.
So, it's a tough one to say. Like, if I could do it all over again, is basically what I feel like you're asking me when you say that, or just give myself some advice back then.
Mm-hmm. What would you tell a 20-year-old freaking version of yourself?
Don't be such an asshole.
Take a left, don't take a right. Do this, commit, don't commit. Because we all know hindsight's 20/20.
It is.
And and it's what
it's not the first time I've thought about this.
And it's funny because what did Pat McNamara say about experience?
Think about it, all I come up with is brush your fucking teeth.
Damn.
I mean, I feel like that's a slippery slope to let yourself think about that. And I'm not saying I'm not willing to shift it into gear and do it here, but that's almost like saying well, listen, if I could go back, I'd go back to 16. So my wife, we were high school sweethearts briefly in 10th grade. And she's just beautiful girl, awesome girl. At the time, wasn't moving fast enough for me. And I ended up with somebody else.
Perfect.
So if I could go, I'm 48 and I've got a 4-year-old son. She's 47. Wow. So we linked back up together later in life.
Dude, I'm 49. I got 3 grandkids.
Well, see, so just 8 years ago, we got back together, and so now look back, like at that time we're decided, we're madly in love. We're going to spend the rest of our lives together, and we want to make a baby. I got to tell you, like there's a
Ramon had kids
there's a-
early. That
there's a
way, the
2
babysitter could watch him and his kid.
Yeah. So there's like a period for a woman. I think it's from like 39 to 41 when their likelihood of conceiving a child drops drastically. So I moved back from Arizona to be with her, became a stepdad, 3 awesome kids, which is a huge challenge in itself, But we decided, we're going to get married, but we also want to make a baby. And if we wait 1 year to have a wedding, we're going to lose that window. So we decided we're going to have a baby. We got to do it now. So we tried. And we got pregnant, whatever you want to call it. And we lost one, which is fucking rough. Then we tried again. And I just weren't sure it was going to happen, at 42 and 43. And it happened. We have a beautiful son, and he's a little ass kicker. He's awesome. You asked me what I would do if I could go back. I would go back to when I was 16, and I would say, don't leave Tracy. Knock her up. It's funny to think that my son, if we had a baby,
He could have been.
How old would he
15
be?
years
I mean,
older.
numbers make my eyes glaze over. But I would have a fucking 20-something years old. I'm not going to even try to do the math. So if I could go back in time, I would impregnate my current wife back in high school. We shared our first dance together, buddy, in 7th grade.
Hands on the waist.
And I would
hands on the waist.
Back then it was
enough
hands
room for the
on
Holy
each other's
Spirit.
shoulders.
Enough room for the Holy Spirit.
Highway to thank God for fucking Stairway to Heaven, having an 8-minute song to fucking touch a girl to. You know what I mean? But you're just like stepping back and forth, like that's it, man. I would have produced a child a lot sooner, and I would have way better teeth. Everything else, I wouldn't change it.
That's
Made you the person you are today.
Yeah.
nice. Well, brother, I appreciate we kicked the tires. We drove it around the block today. I thank you very much for coming out, hanging with me and the boys today in the studio.
Thank you, dude. I'm on it.
And I know, thank you, brother. Thank you. Ramon, any closing thoughts, my brother?
I say, let's fucking enjoy this fucking life, man. Life is crazy right now.
No doubt.
Let's fucking go out there and make the best of it.
There's no better time to be alive.
Be a
Even as
fucking
wild
human.
as shit is
You
right
know,
now.
let's be a better human.
That's it.
Yeah.
Be a better human. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank
Sure
you.
you spay and neuter all your animals.
And recycle. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming for the ride with us today. Like I said, don't forget to check out my man's Instagram. What is it again?
It's at Bounty Hunter Cam.
All right, not the one Ramon looked up, Body Hunter Cam, not that one. But yeah, thank you for taking the ride with us today, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be better humans. Let's take care of one another. Good night, America, wherever you are.
That was cool. Oh yeah. My son's a Marine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
31-year-old.
Look at that. I love that. Love that view.